from. You guys, let me know if we are sounding okay. Tonight's guest, I want to welcome one Skip Jansen. Skip, how you doing tonight? Can you hear me, Skip? Can anyone hear me? Oh, God. Don't tell me I'm going to have a technical problem already. Let me know, guys, how the sound is. I want to make sure it's rectified before we get on here. Oh, good. I'm glad your 9-year-old approves of it. Excellent. Sound is good. Oh, Skip, I think you might be muted, Skip. Yeah, check your mute button. I don't think I control that on my end. God, I haven't had a guest in so long, to be honest with you. Hey, Owl. Owl on the prowl. Danger Dave. Cryptex is here. How you doing, Cryptex? Good to see you. Let's see. Sound is good. Skip's on mute still. Skip, maybe I'm gonna you know what? I'm gonna pop Skip out and then pop him on back in. Maybe that'll. It's possible he's getting something ready to, or that he's not near his a device. Oh, hang on a second. Oh. Oh my goodness. I don't think you are, Skip, on my end. Can you guys can see Skip's icon, right? I mean, it's oh, yeah. Pop back out and pop back in, Skip. No big deal. We'll get it figured out. You know, I can go on and on. Oh, here we go. All right, add to stage. We're bringing you in now, Skip. Skip, can you hear me, Skip?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I've got some earphones because I've had some echoing in the past. If that gets to be a problem, just let me know.
Yeah, no, for sure I will. And but just so you know, on my end right now, I'm not getting any sort of echo. You sound quite excellent.
Awesome.
So let me start that over. We had a song by the Lower Leisure class, and then tonight for episode Shichi, and that would be Japanese for 7. As you guys know, I like to pick a different language for each number and each guest. And that guest tonight happens to be one Skip Jansen. We're so glad to finally be able to interact, or at least I am. I'm sure he is too. I mean, I've been talking to Skip. I would say on and off for I don't know. What do you think? Maybe a little bit over a year, probably. Skip, you think?
Yeah, probably about that long. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah. So so welcome to the show, anyways, and we're so glad to have you here. It has been a while since I've done any sort of interview show. The last interview I did was Arctic Fox True Crime. And so that was back in the spring. So if I'm a little rusty at first, bear with me, but I promise to loosen up as this here Bell's beer starts to disappear a little bit. So let's just do a quick introduction, Skip, and I'll let you do this mostly for yourself because I feel
Okay.
like you explain who you are better than I can explain who you are. But just a quick introduction in terms of we'll pick up at Delphi first, and we can go back further than that once we get into a more personal conversation. How did you become, let's say, interwoven, if you will, into the and I'm not saying that you put yourself there or what, just through the course of whatever events. First of all, I just want to know the timeline in terms of the crime, and then your proximity in terms, like, are you? I don't know anything in terms of, like, are you from that community, or what brought you to that case so quickly early on? Go ahead.
Well, what brought me into it originally was probably the same thing that brought a lot of people into it, was COVID. It was 2020, and I don't know if you're still looking for things, looking for something to eat up some time and all that kind of stuff. And I actually didn't. So I actually in August of 2020 I joined Reddit. I looked around and saw that was the main source of information in the case. So, or actually, let me. I digress. Hold on. I actually
Go ahead.
started Reddit because I was interested in the Missy Beavers case. Because I have a buddy of mine who's in law enforcement, and he worked on that case for a little bit, so I had some information, and so I went on and joined the Missy Beavers subreddit, and was there for, I don't know, probably maybe a month. That is all, and I said some things I probably shouldn't have about some information that I really wasn't supposed to talk about. But I got to a point in that case where it was not really going anywhere, and so started looking for something else to follow, and against my better judgment, against my best judgment, people told me do not get involved in Delphi, but that's where I went. Yeah, so I'm hard headed, I suppose. But that again, that was August of 2020. So I've been, it's been a little over 5 years I've been involved in Delphi, and I'm not.
I'm about in that same timeline with you, but go ahead.
I'm not from Indiana. I live in Florida, and grew up in Alabama. Live in Florida for the last 26 years, and so. But it was just. I think the thing that attracted me to it was it had one of the same components to it that the Missy Beavers did. It had video of the suspect, and so that automatically is intriguing, because people who are sleuths who think they can figure things out and all that, they're like, hey, well, I mean, they got the guy on video, and then so there was that, and that attracted me, and of course, the age of the victims was also something that was such a tragedy that attracted me to it as well.
Interesting. Let me ask you something really quick.
Yeah.
Let me use my my web sleuth abilities here, and you can tell me if I'm correct. You said initially on Reddit found the Beaver case, but then from there you also found the Delphi case. Again, those similarities with the video are striking. But would I have a good web if I were to assume that's also where you not met up, but maybe became aware of one of my favorite content creators, and that's Kristen behind the crime door?
That's exactly, yeah.
And her,
I met Chris. Yep, met Kristen on Reddit. Absolutely. And well.
Okay.
Let me say, I really didn't meet anybody much at all. I didn't really converse with many people up until an event occurred that changed everything. A year, just a little, not quite a year as I was into it in July of 2021. I'd been making a few comments on Reddit, and had talked to a few people, and met a guy named whose username was Jersey, and he was interested in what I was saying, which was kind of surprising. And he said, "Hey, you need to get this information out there. What if I try to, work as an intermediary to try to see if anybody would one of these?" I didn't even know the amount of social media that was involved in true crimes. This is the first case I've ever followed. So I didn't know. So he said, anyway, he said, "I know the guys with True Crime Garage. I'm going to call them." Well, a few weeks later, he direct messaged me and said, "Hey, they're very interested. Would you talk to them?" And so in July of 2021, we started talking, and we decided that, or they decided, asked me if I would be on one of their shows. I didn't know exactly what that entailed. Turns out, towards the end of July, we taped a three episode podcast. And at the time I didn't realize the size of their podcast, and I didn't understand the amount of people that were listening to those kind of shows and stuff. And so on August the 3rd, 2021, the 3-episode podcast of was called Under the Bridge was released on True Crime Garage, and and Skip Jansen went from just someone who was nobody to all of a sudden, who the hell is this guy?
Was this a collaborative effort between you and the people in other podcasts and so forth to sort of come up then with this 3-part series? Was that a collaborative effort with other folks then?
Well, no, well, it was true. It's True Crime Garage's podcast, and they were looking, I guess, for content, and so that's when they got in touch with me through the Jersey guy, the intermediary. We decided to, they asked me if I'd be interested in doing it, and I said yes, and we did it. They released it, and I didn't realize had no idea. I had talked to the guy, Captain, who's one of the hosts of the show, and I said, how many people are going to listen, listen to this? He said, well, we expect to have well over 500,000 downloads. And I was like, that had never even registered with me,
Wow.
anything close to that. So that changed everything for
Yeah.
me in terms of, yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah. And so now what the days following that, I wasn't, somebody who anonymous any longer, which was, I didn't realize, and I didn't invite it, but it's the reality of the way things worked out.
Well, just so you know, if you would have released it on this show, you'd still be anonymous because we only had 250 some subscribers. But anyways,
that would probably work
okay.
Well,
Let's walk through that a little bit
okay.
To redirect. After the release of Under the Bridge, what were some of the more revelatory things at the time in that caused such a major reaction? Let me note for just the listeners, when you say 500,000 downloads, you have to put that in terms and context of the true crime community, because that's not a it's not a short that's like some cat on a ceiling fan flying around that gets 4 million hits in a viral thing. To get 500,000 downloads on a creative project involving true crime is quite extraordinary. But please go ahead and let us know some of the finer points of that.
Well, it was a theory I had come up with, and like I said, when I first got into the case, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in the community. I knew, you see a lot of groups now. People are and we can get into that later on, some of that stuff, some of the negativity. But I didn't know anybody. Sure. Everything I did was on my own, and so I took it from a standpoint. I didn't come into the case looking at maybe like most people. Hey, let me identify a person of interest. Then go out and try to do whatever. I looked at it from a standpoint of, why hasn't this case been solved? If I can get to that, if I can understand why this case hasn't been solved, that will at least answer me a question. And I can get going in the right direction, right? Because you got video of the perp, you got audio of the perp, you've got 2 witnesses, so at least 2 people saw him that day. There's just so many things that seem to suggest that this should have been a case that was solved fairly quickly. He should have been identified pretty quickly, and I think law enforcement, that was probably a mistake they made. I think they thought that maybe the video was the holy grail, and that was going to, if somebody know in a town of 3,000 people, somebody was going to come forward surely and say, hey, I know that guy. That's the guy that works on my car, or that's the guy that cuts my hair, or that's the guy at the CVS, works at CVS, whatever. I think they believed, chances were somebody would recognize that person. And when it didn't, then I think things got a little haywire. But anyway, that's the way I approached it. And so the core of the theory was, I didn't consider any information at that time other than what law enforcement was saying. Okay. I focused a lot on the second sketch because even though some of that stuff.
Can we make just one real quick? I'm sorry, a timeout. Can we make a distinction? You said the second sketch. As we know, Young Bridge Guy's sketch was actually drawn first.
Correct.
So can you please make the distinction when you're saying the second sketch? Which way do you mean that?
The young guy sketch.
Okay.
So that was
the one that was released. The one that was released secondary.
Yeah, in 2019, correct.
Okay, very well.
And so, and the people I had talked to, a couple of law enforcement people I know, they said, I asked them, I said, what's the path I should take? They said, well, that's pretty rare occurrence for a sketch to change 2 years in, especially for sketches to look so much different. Something must have happened. So I went into it, looking at it that way. I said, okay, something must have happened. What changed? What did they identify? And again, I'm trying to figure out why is this case not solved? I'm not out there trying to identify a POI. I didn't have enough information or evidence to do that, but I did feel like I could possibly identify why the case hadn't been solved. So
Right.
from there, I listened to what they said, and there was a lot. You know what I'm talking about. There was a lot of, hey, we likely have spoken to you. We believe you're local. You're
Mm-hmm.
So you factor all of those things in with what we know. What we know was there were at least 2 witnesses, so he was seen, right?
That's my dog drinking. I'm sorry.
No, he had to know he was seen, right? Or at least somewhat he had to know he was seen. So that's where the theory developed that, hey, law enforcement's possibly talked to this guy, and they know he was there because he was seen. What if it was a witness that came forward, or what if it was someone who came forward as a witness and deceived
Right.
law enforcement that way? And so that's how the theory started off, was that it was somebody who came forward but didn't identify themselves properly. It was someone who was identified itself as a witness. That's likely what they were viewed as by law enforcement. So that's how it all started, and it got that was kind of the nexus of it all, and then from there, of course, it changed. A lot of things changed because you gain more information and learn what's real or what's not real and all that kind of stuff. But that's how it all
Sure.
came about. That's what we talked about on the show, is that they released a sketch of a young guy. Okay. And you're probably going to hear me say this a couple of times tonight, because I think it's very important, because we for some
Sorry about
reason
that.
we have ignored the easy stuff and focused on the hard stuff. We've allowed the easy stuff to get by us and let the complex stuff be what's most important. And I think that's been a problem. They released the young guy sketch and say, this is the guy. This is the face of the guy on the bridge, right? Well, as I started researching, I started realizing there was one male there that day in his 20s that was known to be on the trails. So I was very interested in him. So I started looking into him, and there were there were a lot of inconsistencies in his circumstances that day, including
Such as?
when he got there, how he got there, who he was with. Just it wasn't it was nothing very cut and dried with him at all. It was, as a matter of fact,
Well, let's drill down on the specifics a little bit, Skip. And
okay.
I mean, when you say that, like, so how did he say he got there, and how did he get there?
He said he got there, drove his car, and parked at the Mears lot, and walked there about, and he was actually a witness at that point, right? He got there at 3:00, 3:50, or saw a guy at 3:15, contributed to a sketch. And as you said, as we talk about this more, you'll see how a lot of that stuff starts disappearing, and I think that's an issue with the case. But he said he was there, but his companion that day had changed, because he was with a gal he wasn't supposed to be with. Okay. He had just recently, I believe, got engaged and was with a gal that was not his fiance. Okay. So
Okay.
That was the initial reason for hiding who she was. Nobody. I didn't know anybody in the case who knew who she was. Well, during my research, I found out who she was, and I said who she was on the True Crime Garage show. I thought that was
Okay.
I thought it was pretty. I thought I'd done pretty well. I identified the gal, the mysterious gal that he was with. Since then, I know her story and his story don't match up. They still don't, and so, and what we're going to do, we're going to do a little exercise thing, and I'm gonna show you some stuff and
Okay.
what I talked about.
Actually, let me tell the listeners really quick what we have in store before we go on with that, and then we'll wrap up the under the bridge podcast segment there. And I just want to say that we will be doing sort of a participatory deduction in, what would you call it, Skip? A sort of deductive theory, if you will, reasoning.
It's a deductive reasoning exercise where what you're basically doing is you're trying to create a hypothesis based on things you know and things you see. And so I've got three different two documents and a video that I want everybody to look at. And obviously everybody's mind needs to be, just try to be as open-minded as possible, but it goes back to what I was talking about earlier about how we've tossed the easy stuff aside and focused on the complex stuff. And it's like, how did we miss some of this stuff? I mean, when you start saying one male in his 20s was there that day, and there's a description of a male in his 20s that day. Why do you need to make it harder than what it really probably is, right? And so, but there's some other things involved in this case that have contributed to some of the stuff, having a lot of inconsistencies in stories and information that's been disseminated and things like that. And so, and that's made it.
Would you even say there have been some revisions? Would you say that on your end there have been some revisions to your personal theory since the Under the Hill series came out? Have you made revisions to your own theory, I guess is the question.
Well, like I said, I never was trying to find a person or a suspect. I thought this person.
Well, just circumstantially, circumstantially.
Yeah, a little bit, but not the base, not the core of it, not the core basic.
Okay.
It's still, this person is still, in my opinion, plays a very key role in this investigation, and we haven't been told the truth about it. And I've got evidence that shows the truth, but we'll get into that when we get into it. But
okay,
yes, there's been some things changed, but not to the core of it. It's still been about again the basic. Let's talk about the basic things. We're going to talk about Old Bridge Guy sketch and the Young Bridge Guy sketch. We're going to show you how they were described, how they were depicted. Okay. For some reason, people have missed that. There's a witness who described Old Bridge Guy exactly and how he is depicted. And it's not Sarah Carbaugh. You're going to see what I'm. You're going to see everybody. Your audience is going to see what I'm talking.
You know
about.
what? I'm going to take Hiawatha's advice right now and say let's just press on with those. What you want to bring? I mean, that we think we can bring out on that. Let them roll with it. I mean, we're on it. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Thanks, Hiawatha.
If you can put up the description of both the young guy sketch and the description of the old guy sketch.
Well, I'm going to attempt to do that.
And the sketch, and we'll compare them. We'll compare what the description says compared to what the how the sketch turned out.
Okay, give me just 1 second. I'm sorry.
No
I that was good advice on Hiawatha's part, but I unfortunately didn't prepare myself now, and I had everything pulled up, and for some reason my Gmail
Well,
popped
again,
everything back into.
we don't have to use that as a deductive reasoning exercise because everybody pretty much knows all the circumstances, and all the
Oh
facts
yeah, no, yeah, no, I think we do for sure.
surrounding them. But I don't think many people are aware of the description this person gave to law enforcement and a sketch artist.
Here we go.
A day after the murders.
Okay, yeah.
I'll
of
be
course, I'm going to have technical difficulties now, so just give me.
I even missed this because, and this is something I've been focused on, for 5 years. Because I had never seen what his witness statement was and what he described. It had been so much. Everything so. It's like, he saw FSG, or that FSG saw him. Well, when you dig into it, you realize that didn't happen. There's nothing documented of that. As a matter of fact, I've got a text where he talks about in 2020 he didn't even know who the hell FSG was. Why? So why did that story need to be out there? We'll get into false narratives and things like that as we go. But I want people just to take just the very basics of here's what was described in the sketch. Here's what was depicted.
Right. Here we go.
So
okay. So this, I hope this is the one you wanted up first. Unfortunately, I had I don't know. You guys, let me know how the signal is. I feel like it's being a little finicky on my end as usual. Of course, just let me know if I'm breaking up with Skip here, because I'd almost rather reset everything and go with that. I really don't want to have a broadcast that breaks up. So it's important to me that the audio at least is good. So anybody out there, let us know how that's going. But let me just say quickly, all the emails you sent me with all the images. Yeah, it's just going to take me a second now to pull up. So if you can just tell me, Skip, which ones in terms of email 1, 1, 2, and 3, and email 2, 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if you have a way to do that, but you had 2 emails each, so there's six total. Because for some reason I had it all pulled up and it went back all into the email, so I have to go back in and do it again. But I cleared them all out and pulled up the sketch, which wasn't the first one, I don't think, but I don't know if that's what you want or not. But
well, the first one is one from it'll say Betsy Blair, and on there, yeah, that's then this is this sketch that she authored of a 20-year-old guy she saw on the bridge at about 1:55.
Do you have any way? Of telling me in the first email, is that the first, second, or third image? Did you put them in order?
Hold on, let me see.
Yeah, that's okay. Take your time. I think everyone's willing to wait. I'd rather do this, right from the beginning on how you wanted it set up, so that we can get your full, point. I really would.
It's the second. It's the second sheet of the 4 sheets and sketches.
Okay, got it. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. That one right there, is that up on the screen for everybody? I think we got it.
That is, let me get a.
That would be what I have up now, I believe, is Betsy Blair's arrival timeline. That was the second JPEG in the series of the first email.
Yeah, and I want everybody just be open-minded. Let's go with what we know and what is fact, and that is she drew the sketch and she describes it in what we're about to show you, and you can read it. My eyesight's not good enough to read off the screen, but you can
I'll read it. Sure, I love reading. Everyone knows that. Like, I love a document read. So please let me read it. Okay, here we go, guys. Betsy Blair's arrival timeline from high noon to 1 p.m. First point. Betsy saw a man of medium height, medium weight, brown hair, mid-20s. He was approximately 50 feet from her. and he gave her the creeps because he was staring right at her. Second point. She looked through the yearbooks. Okay, I'm going to start that over. She
Yeah,
looked through
that's
the
gonna miss.
yearbooks and had never seen this 20-year-old before. And point three, she said the sketch Taylor Bryant drew was a 10 out of 10. Do I have that right, Skip?
That's right. And to clarify that, Taylor Bryan is the ISP's sketch artist. And that was who was working on the sketches early on.
Let me just break in before we go on. Is there anything, Skip, you want us to do? Because I'm putting myself with the chat, because we're all kind of really learning this together.
Yeah, everybody pretty much knows that she saw a guy 20 years old. She later changed that to 20s. Even she possibly went 30s, but that's a little hard to believe. You're looking through yearbooks of somebody in their 30s. But anyway,
no, we'll get to that. I'm just trying to lay down the ground rules for the participatory end of this, in terms of us sort of being the students here. What would you like us to focus on in terms of the participatory end of this exercise?
I think just that her description matches what you see on that was drawn. It's a 20-year-old guy, poofy brown hair. The physical characteristics match up with the characteristics. Agreed.
You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if that's me, or I don't know if we're both breaking up, or if it's just you breaking up. I'm not sure, but one of us or both of us are breaking up a bit. I can hear it, so just be aware of that. I'm not sure if you have a.
Okay.
Okay, you sound good now. Yeah.
Okay. Huh. All right.
Well, my signal also breaks up nonstop.
That's the focus of this. That her description matches, her physical description matches the sketch she drew. So, and she said it was 10 out of 10. So that makes sense, right? Just let me relay that really quick to the audience. Basically, the crux of this exercise is going to be the differential between what she said initially she saw and what she ended up drawing. Is that correct? Sort of. Well, you're looking at it as from is it consistent? Is she saying we'll get to how that may change or whatever later, but her citing is very consistent in all ways. The description matches up with who she saw. She even says she went through yearbooks. That suggests she saw somebody very young, high school age or close to it, recent high school age, and she saw someone, like I said, with poofy brown hair, someone who would have been there at the time, or 155 at the time she saw this male she described on the bridge.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So
very well.
Everybody's in agreement. Now you can put. You're going to put up the old bridge guy sketch, and I've redacted the witness's name because I don't want it to be. I want the bias to be. I don't want that to play a role in this.
Sure.
If we can.
Was that in the first or second email?
That was in the same email as the sketch. I sent them all together. I see it was 4 sheets. Okay. It was 4 sheets.
Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay, I got it. Yep. Okay, here we go. So we know this one pretty well, right? Everybody's seen this before, of course. We're not necessarily breaking new ground here.
I tell you what, can you put up the description first, the witness description?
Witness, is that just text?
Yes, that's just text. Yeah, it'll be similar text to what you put up for the young guy sketch.
Let me see what we got here. Okay, hope I got the right page. That was the first one.
Forget about Sarah Carball. Forget about who you've been told about who witnessed what, and just focus on what you see. Trust your eyes.
Okay, and I'll read through this also. Speaking of trusting someone's eyes. Do I have the right one pulled up at least?
You have, yes, you do. No,
Okay.
that is the email. No, hold on. What is that?
Whoops, I took it down. Hang on. Well, you said it was a page of just text, right? Because the only other one on the first email is Young Bridge Guy sketch. There's Young Bridge Guy, Old Bridge Guy, and the Betsy Blair timeline in the first email. The second email is all text.
Yeah, no, this is what you're putting up is all text. There should be another text page in the other email, the sketch email, the last one I sent you.
Okay.
Should be in that email.
Okay, this is the third one in the set. Whoops.
That's not it. That's the email we're going to do the exercise with, where we're going to read the email and see what everybody sees it there.
Oh, hang on a second. Okay. What does +1 mean? That means there's. Oh, there it is. Hey, +1 means there's. Oh man, I just learned something right live on the air. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Okay, this has got to be the one right here, right?
Yeah. And again, just focus
okay, good.
on how it's described, what the description is, and what the sketch.
Well, I would just ask everyone to sort of clear their mind of the last 6 or 7 years and just try to almost propel yourself back in time to when all this sort of stuff was coming out and relevant at the time. So we'll just go from that point.
Yeah.
And the narrative.
I wish it was that. I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy. Once the confirmation bias and the cognitive dissonance sets in, it's almost impossible for people to do that.
Sure.
I mean,
but I asked the listeners at least temporarily to try to suspend,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the point of the exercise. After all, it is just an exercise. This isn't to prove guilt or innocence of any party, by the way. Am I correct in saying that, Skip?
That's correct. This is not meant to. We're not trying to prove anything here. We're trying to show. We're trying to show something that is interesting in.
Yeah.
And with more information as going along, it might be the answer. But for right now, we want to just focus on what the description was. Don't focus on what you've been told. We can talk about that later. About islands side of 300 and a woman in a car. Don't worry about all that muddy bloody. Don't worry about that. Just focus on what this witness says.
Okay, and I'll read it, Skip. The narrative.
Okay.
Got to platform 1. Of course, that would be the platform on the Monon High Bridge at approximately 3:30, between 3:20 and 3:30 p.m.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to go over the list of what this person saw?
Yeah.
Okay.
His description.
Yeah. So a white Subaru wagon, a dark car, a man over 55 years old, peppered hair and beard, solid black painter or golfer's hat.
Yeah,
blue jean.
Yeah.
Tan and cream lumberjack style shirt with black and gray mixed in. Then it says the man had, but that's all I got on this here email.
All right. Okay. Now, there was no hat, but that'll be some for another time. Now put up the sketch. But keep the description with you so you can reference it. And we'll do it just like we did the other sketch.
I popped myself out of my own show. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm back. Okay, hang on. I hit the wrong one. Let me get. What am I putting up? I'm sorry. A year ago, that would have made me my head would have started. My hair would have caught on fire from my head smoking if that would have happened a year ago.
Yeah,
now I just get right through it.
The old guy sketch. Put up the older sketch. The guy with the guy wearing the golfer's cap.
Oh, I got it. Hang on a second. I have to go back in and share screen. Here we go. And should be coming right up here, guys. wait for it to there we go. Okay. And
Okay.
you take us from here then. Go ahead.
All right. Let's just deal with the nuts and bolts of this. Okay. We're not worried about all of the other stuff in the past 7 years. He says 55 years old. That's very similar to what's described in here. Peppered hair. You can see the peppered hair drawn in this sketch. Can you see it in there? I don't think many people ever saw that.
I can, yeah, actually, I can see if this is the official, one of the official sketches. I don't think this represents.
It's an official sketch.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that out of the two main ones, there were other sketches also. There were 3 or 4 or 5 sketches, I think,
right.
altogether.
These were the 2 that were released. One was released in July of 2017. This one, and the other one was released in April of 2019. The young guy sketch. But anyway, you see the golfer's cap, right? That's
right.
Exactly what that is. That's an old Irish or English golfer's cap. That's what he described. And this witness described. This witness is the only witness who's described that golfer's cap. So they didn't just randomly put a golfer's cap on somebody unless they were a witness. Agreed? He's got peppered hair. He's the only witness that described pepper hair. He's got facial hair. He's the only witness who described that. Okay. The young girls who saw him said his face was covered. And Sarah Carball said, we don't even know what the hell she said. But anyway, again, this is a sketch that is the description is consistent with the depiction. It's right. It's right. So
okay,
right. So
if that's the point of that, yeah, sure. Okay, I agree.
Yeah. So again, why is the person who did this sketch that the description matches the depiction? Why is that? Why are we missing it? Why are we tossing aside the easy stuff? That is someone who again I don't know, we'll get into it about what all transpired here and what all I found.
Right.
But
well, you don't feel like you have to do that either. You may want to reserve, I mean, I'm not saying lay all your cards out here on the table by any means, man. Yeah. Just talk about whatever you're comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
And however far you want to take us in that process, let's do it. But I just want to be, I just want to make sure that if it's participatory, that we all are indeed sort of participating when you give us the cue to do so.
Right. If you put that description out with that depiction, the sketch, nobody would have an issue with that. It would make sense, right? You're reading.
I totally agree with that statement. Yes.
You see what you're reading. It matches up.
Right.
Okay. All right. So that is I want everybody just to see that. Okay. They can do whatever with it, what they want to do with it. I want everyone to see. I want everybody to know that is the only witness who described those things.
Can I ask a quick question? Skip.
Yeah.
As far as this one, I was under the impression that it was a composite. No.
Again. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it possibly could have. When you say composite, you don't mean done as a composite sketch. You're talking about done by multiple people. You're saying
right.
Composite equals multiple.
Right. That it was taken from the details were taken from multiple people, and that indeed. And let me just I don't want to correct Sensi Wackadoodle earlier, but I just want to clarify because it is a little bit confusing that Young Bridge Guy sketch was actually drawn first per the state police sketch artist, and Old Bridge Guy sketch was drawn second. However, Old Bridge Guy sketch is the one they went with initially before they went with Young Bridge Guy sketch. Correct, Skip? Do I have that right?
You have that correct. That's correct.
Okay, so I just like all the details to be clear on that.
Yeah,
So okay,
I think it's possible that that sketch consists of, you call it composite. I've always when I say composite sketch, I've always thought of a composite sketch as a kind of sketch, not as opposed to a forensic sketch. It's a sketch where you take a catalog of facial features, and the sketch artist says, is this, until you get a facial, that you get the facial characteristic done. But I understand.
I hadn't
Uh,
considered that. It might be that way. I don't
well,
know.
no, I think they're saying it was done by multiple people. Uh, I'm not sure we've been told exactly correctly, but it's possible that, and I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but it's, wouldn't you agree that the witness of this, that described this sketch, that is
Mhm.
part of it, I mean, he describes all the things that are depicted. I mean, the likelihood of him
Oh
being
yeah.
a part of it is much greater than not. See, that's the thing about this case that's
Well,
driven me
no,
crazy.
I mean, no, no, honestly, from the outside, if it's a composite and it's multiple people, I would say that they got, besides the age, possibly, unless they're not talking about anyone that's been identified as a suspect yet. I'm not sure. Other than that, I mean, if that represents, I guess what we're not connecting here is are you saying that does or doesn't represent Bridge Guy? you know, because
I'm
if
saying
so,
it
then
does. It does represent the individual that this witness said he's told law enforcement he saw. That's
because
what
that's
I'm
what I
saying.
feel like. I feel like it's detailed enough in the description of the face that I'm seeing there. I don't know about if they gave an age range or the hard age of 55. Now, also to contrast the old Bridge Guy sketch, wasn't young Bridge Guy sketch a single source sketch done
Correct.
by the
Betsy
done
West.
by the, I don't know if it was a different agency. That I think it was the FBI that did that one. Am I wrong?
Well, that was the that yeah. What? Okay,
Or
again.
no, Young Bridge Guy sketch was done by the state police, and Old Bridge Guy sketch was done by the FBI. I think because it wasn't the same sketch artist who did both sketches.
Well, yeah, we'll go with that for right now.
Okay,
I have some information that's not exactly how it went down. I'll tell you why.
okay,
I have a
okay.
I have a CAD report that Detective Hammond took on the day after, where this witness called him and said he had information he wanted to share. Hammond asked him, "Do you think you would be able to do?" He described the guy. "Do you think you'd be able to do a sketch?" "Yeah, I think I'd do a sketch." He says, "Let me get in touch with the ISP sketch artist, and we'll set it up for you." Okay, that's what's said in the CAD report. Okay,
Well, explain to us all what a cab report is, please.
CAD report is the report that's done when by law enforcement, and they're basically their field work, when they're taking a call, getting a name. It could be, it could consist of a bunch of different kinds of information, but it's kind of the initial contact with a witness, somebody that could potentially be involved in the case.
Okay,
And that's the addition. And then from there, this was on the 14th. Okay, remember that's the next day. To me,
right.
to me again,
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to speculate too much, because I haven't speculated in this case. I've done all the stuff that I've done, and my information has been evidence I've found and has been corroborated, or something that I plainly see, that whether somebody tries to make me, believe I'm not seeing what I see, I'm going to trust my eyes. And
Right.
that's one of those cases here. So again, I just wanted to show that there was a witness who came forward the day after and described that sketch. So would you say that he was probably involved in authoring that sketch is somewhat. Again, I don't know how much percentage he did. Seems like he did a pretty good bit because he was the one who was the one who described the hat correctly. No one else did.
When you say he, when you say he, please tell me who is. Just to be clear, who is he? When
this is a witness, Daniel Pearson.
Okay, sure. Okay, so from the witness
that,
standpoint, that he would be involved. Okay.
Yeah, he called law enforcement, and early in the case, he was always considered a witness. The witnesses that were presented at trial. Well, I'm not going to say that because I don't. Mm-hmm. I'll say that when I can show proof of it. We haven't been told the absolute truth about any of that. Okay, because that includes when other witnesses came forward, why they came forward, and when the law enforcement at trial or prosecution trial doesn't mention DP. He might as well not even exist. But this gal, Sarah Carball, that says she saw him and she said she got 3 feet from him. She almost had to run the son of a bitch over so she could see him that well. Doesn't describe any of these things. She describes the hat, but it's not anything specific because I can't really remember that hat. But the sketch artist drew a golfer's cap, like the other witness said.
Right.
That's not just made up. He says he's got peppered hair. Or he draws peppered hair. She didn't say he had peppered hair, but the other witness did. Said he had facial hair. She didn't say it. He did. So, at what point do you say, "I'm going to go with what I see and what I'm reading"? I don't. That's the thing. That's the thing about when we get information verbally. You can say anything you want. Right? You can say anything you want to make something seem the way you want it to seem. Right? And
sure. I mean,
and this has been hard for me because I have friends in law enforcement, and I've been a proponent for law enforcement and just a strong one. And I started out this case going with everything they said was what was important to me. At some point, you got to say, "Hey, what's going on? Why the lack of transparency and the lack of just being forthright is off the charts? Why? What's going on? What are you trying to hide?" And so that I want everybody just to see that
okay. Let's move on to the next slide.
We don't have to do it. We can do that later where the audience can participate.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear about your theory. That was going to be the first thing.
Well, it's going to be really interesting. And since I've been listening to this and listening to your and then putting that up, it's really odd. I think you're going to find a few if not similarities, at least some close ones. Okay, here we go.
Okay. First of all, let me say I am never critical of anybody's theories or opinions, because one thing I realized in this case is we all have had unique paths. My appearance on this or meeting someone have led me to things that it would be impossible for other people to have at all. So I might have information in that part of the case that nobody else would have. So that would be singular to me. Some other people, all you people in your audience, had the same thing. The way they started and the path they took in this case allowed them to gain information that's unique to them. And so I know we're not all going to be looking at the same stuff no, but I just wanted to be clear that I'm not, I'm not a negative person anyway. And so I certainly don't try to bring it, and I don't think I'm right about everything, but I'm not critical of what anybody's beliefs.
Well, let me just get out there really quick. really quick, my theory, I'd like to almost compare them. I think now this has turned into an interesting comparison because I feel like what you're saying kind of blends into what my theory was. So,
And
the Derek Farmer theory.
Can I say? Hey, can I say one thing?
Sure,
I do
absolutely.
not think or I believe not one iota that this person I'm talking about is bridge guy. Okay, but
Sure.
I do think his. I do think
Excuse me,
his,
just for a second. I gotta pause this microphone. Sorry, I had to be gruff with the dog a little bit, and I
no
don't
problem.
want to. I mean, he gets
I just want to be clear that I do not think this guy had anything to do with the murders.
Fair enough.
But I do think, and again, I talked about having unique information. I have some information that we received, the True Crime Garage, that corroborated some other information we got about what time he really got there that day. And these people weren't trying to. When
you say he, do you mean Bridge Guy, Richard Allen, or Daniel DP?
Daniel Pearson. And they were actually saying we were wrong. They said, why do you keep saying it in the emails? They were like, why do you keep saying, when we validated they were friends with, why do you keep saying you got there at 3? We were like, well, that's what he keeps talking about in law enforcement. That's not what he told us. He told us he got there at 1:30. Shelby, the girl, his companion's grandfather, also said they got there at 1:30. Anyway, again, I don't insert anything like that into what I call my evidence unless I can get corroboration, and that's corroboration. As a matter of fact, I have 4 pieces of information that show they got there at 1:30. His word is the only thing that shows that conflicts with that. So again, you have to balance it all out. Look at it all, right? I got this over here, and this doesn't make this 100% right, but I got to pay attention to it because I'm getting more information that's supporting that than I am what I'm being told. So anyway,
okay, here we go. That's all right. No, to clarify your points when you have them. That way, going forward, it'll be easier to answer any questions that the audience or I may have for you. But just quickly, I can nail this in under 60 seconds. Okay. The Derek Farmer theory. Over 3 years ago, I made this theory, and although Lana from Truth and Transparency reads it the best, I'll just go ahead and do my own theory today. And that is that Richard Allen, R.A., I'll just say R.A., was old Bridge Guy sketch. And that also he was responsible either by proxy or himself through bad witness testimony for young Bridge Guy sketch. And that during that time, for those 6 years, before he wasn't, they were protecting him as a eyewitness. So that means that I believe someone else was involved from the beginning in terms of at least getting out information that was possibly tainted, if you will, in terms of the or even meant maybe from several people, possibly more than, maybe not several, but maybe say 2 or several that could have been planned out to be sort of it's like, this case reminds me, honestly, and I don't mean to compare everything in life to UFOs, seriously, but it reminds me of an official government narrative on UFOs, because the story fucking changes every time some official opens their mouth. And so the Derek Farmer theory called Richard Allen out 3 years ago from the beginning. He's responsible for being Bridge Guy, and that means, in my opinion, and to me, when the Associated Press, the standard in news reporting, quotes the Indiana State Police through a press release saying they no longer consider old Bridge Guy sketch a person of interest, that that changes everything, so I'm not sure at what point they changed that. Obviously, the 2019 presser was this sort of almost cultish, weird event, I feel, on its own, very esoteric almost. I don't know what's going on in that town. I mean, there were supposedly, FBI and officials there before the crime even happened. So something else in that area is amiss. I can just tell that. And I think I've always felt that, okay, if no one's responsible for doing it with him, and I do feel like RA, in my opinion, is where he needs to be, and you can look at how he was charged initially with murder too, which is still eligible, although they never went for the death penalty. They should have. I'm not sure where that sellout came from, but also that I believe since he turned himself in, and I mean, I've done shows and shows on other people's shows and my own on the whole Dan Doolin issue, the Betsy Blair inconsistencies, and now the Sarah Carbaugh bullshit. And what I mean by bullshit is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you may know the official court stuff a lot more than me, but I thought that in the court records when she testified, Sarah Carbaugh, that she said she was actually going up to 20 miles an hour faster around the curb where she saw supposedly muddy guy, and she didn't want to admit that to the police because she didn't want to get in trouble for speeding. Wouldn't that affect your entire witness testimony? Did you hear anything about that?
No, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it would affect. I mean, look, that's the thing. There's so many things here. That's
what I'm saying, Hiawatha. They protected him as an eyewitness.
Yeah, and
that's just my theory.
Yeah, that was my theory was that based on what law enforcement said, that was kind of the crux of mine too. Was that, hey, we've likely spoken with you. All the things we said. You're local. You did all those kind of things. You'll be plain sight. You look like this. All of those things led me to believe, and the fact that the evidence we knew of that he was seen, he was. So it had to be somebody known to be there out there on the trails that day. That's how it came about. And he was likely labeled a witness because he went in and got in front of it. Because he knew he had been seen. I think. He knew he had been seen.
Cryptex makes a valid point here, Skip, by saying Old Bridge Guy sketch is no longer a person of interest, but both sketches are the same person. What fucking sense, I agree with Cryptex, does that make? Those sentences couldn't be further. Those sentences might as well be vinaigrette. One being oil and one being water.
First of all, it's not really a true statement because Sarah Carbaugh was used in the prosecution to convict a man. That seems pretty relevant. They didn't just put her there to say, oh yeah, by the way, I saw some guy down there. I don't know who the hell he was. They were trying to show that was him. So that sketch was definitely still in play in terms of, look, there's the investigation and there's the trial. Okay, they're two different things.
So here, love and light for all. Hi, welcome to the chat. Is saying, yes, RA was a witness. If that's the fact, then or if that's the case, whatever, it doesn't have to be a fact. But let me ask you on my theory. I mean, don't you see some synchronicities between what you're saying and what my theory was? I mean, that either through, I always felt RA was involved, and that through bad witness testimony, either by himself or by proxy through other people that he knows or are friends with. Those are the connections I'm not able to make. Is like, maybe if you recorded everything from the internet the day after the murders, you might be able to get an idea, but we know that a lot of that shit is scrubbed. But let me ask you this, Skip. Let's go down the rabbit hole for a second. And I know that we're still doing an exercise, so don't let me veer off too far. But you did mention Reddit initially. And remember that kid, that got that ride there hitchhiking, and then
I remember that story.
Well, you remember that situation? Said that a guy picked him up and brought him to the crime scene, and it was like watching an artist in motion, basically. I paraphrase. And that he was very scared and but also very somehow impressed with this killer's skill. What did you ever make of that? That guy, kid, whatever, said that the day after, like the murders, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I never found anything that supported for more of it,
He
and so it's,
disappeared from the
yeah,
internet.
I know. It's like, I know that's the thing is a couple of
They
things
got him. They fucking got him. I'm saying.
a couple of things I try to avoid is if I can't put somebody at the scene, I don't say if they're a possibility, just because somebody has to be there. You can't, somebody who's laying in their bed at home didn't kill anybody at the trails, right? So I have to have that.
Right.
Also, I need corroborated information that suggests the same thing as the initial information. So, there are coincidences in murder cases. It's the weirdest thing. I guess it's because so many people are looking, and the focus is similar, and so I guess that causes some of it. But there definitely look, there's some things that are beyond coincidence, and you say, hey, this can't be a coincidence. We're not getting the true story, and there's some things that are just that just are a coincidence. They just, for whatever reason,
And like that famous Italian meathead sandwich said, things start to stack. And I'm talking about Vito. It's like, and things are stacking. Things are stacking. JP. Let's try to use initials if no one's been charged with a crime, okay?
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Trey.
Yeah.
So okay. Sorry, let me move it along a little bit. I think I had a whole thought. Do you want to add anything to that, Skip, or do you have can I go on to maybe do a few comments and or questions?
I think comments and questions. I don't think I really have anything. I wanted to show people just the basic. There, I have a ton more that supports all this, but I just wanted to show this. This wasn't about that. This show wasn't about this isn't about just getting
it wasn't. It's still interesting.
Getting into the weeds about Delphi, because look, you could this case is so this case is so screwy that look, there's been so much, the amount of misinformation combined with well, I don't even know what to call some of it, but it's made people believe stuff that's not true, be overly skeptical about things that you probably were true. So nobody can get a good feel. That's why I try to keep it the way I keep it. It has to be corroborated, and I trust my eyes. My eyes tell me something that's very obvious. You don't need a whole hell of a lot more. You don't need somebody telling you, oh no, your eyes are, you're not seeing what you're not really seeing that. Now, yes, I am. And so those two things are kind of the basis of how I parse information and whether it becomes evidence or
not. Yeah, right. And I agree that I think the thing about Delphi, to me, it's very hard for me somehow, and believe I don't usually have a problem finding words for things. You could ask anybody here. But I think that for me, it still feels like almost like this culty sort of weird David Lynch series,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to make it into entertainment because, unfortunately, unlike, David Lynch and, say, at Twin Peaks, this has real victims at the end of it, and I have to always keep that in mind. But to me, it's just the whole damn thing screams of still something like just more odd overall, something more complex than we can even friggin' imagine,
Well, I think, and a lot of that goes back to that. People in the true crime community, for whatever reason, will ignore the easy and try to go after the hard. The hard is more compelling. It's more, what I'm saying. The hard is the difficult things are, that's what conspiracies. That's That's the interesting stuff. Something that's really simple is not. But that's how
Oh, you're
you
right.
get to, you know. But so, and people, and I think people are victim of that. Hell, I'm a victim of doing that myself. But you know,
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is the people who believe Richard Allen is guilty are satisfied with how things went. They feel like he's the guy and he's in the place he needs to be, and that's good enough. Okay, and that's fine.
I mean,
I don't
you
have.
know what? I always thought he was guilty, but I'm not thrilled that it took 6 years, and I want to find out what my main question is in this process.
Yeah.
Why, after a guy who self-reports 1 or 2 days after this crime to an official, and I don't want to hear Dan Doolin was some fish and fucking game warden, excuse my language. He was a fully trained state police officer.
Yeah, law enforcement. Yeah.
I will stand behind that. He had to go to basic 101 law enforcement training, which includes taping off crime scenes, asking and ascertaining information from witnesses during crimes.
Yeah.
All of that was taught to him professionally. He's not healing eagle's wings and going, fly away, little birdie.
No,
You know what I'm
man.
saying? So that's
Yeah,
a bunch of bullshit.
it's just like a state trooper, except it's done in natural areas as opposed to the interstates and highways. So, I mean,
Well, as the lieutenant of the DNR, it's a special designation. It is a requirement in the state of Indiana for him to go have that training. It's not an option. And he was a lieutenant at the moment that those girls were killed.
Oh, those, I mean, look.
And then on top of that, Skip, we find out that 6 weeks after the murder, Richard Allen himself, after he's already been interviewed by Dan Doolin himself, is in the new DNR for his new fishing license 2 inches taller than he was the previous year. But somehow in the master command system, none of that information gets ported in somehow,
the battle of
Okay, do I sound... Go ahead.
No, the battle over heights with not only Richard Allen but other people over the years has been a funny thing. It's I won't get into it too much, but again, it basically comes down to: do you believe he's the guy? If you think he's where he needs to be, I don't have a problem with those people. Just say that, though. Just say, hey, look, but he may not have gotten a fair trial.
I believe he is. Yeah, I do.
Well, the people who really believe he's guilty.
Right.
I don't know if he is or not. He likely could be. I don't know, because I don't know the whole story yet, because we haven't been told the whole story yet. At least not the correct one. And so,
I mean, I believe he's guilty enough. He's guilty enough to have details about this crime, to have confessed to it 66 times, in my opinion, that yes, he's guilty. My question is, and will always remain, what else is going on in the periphery? Why are people giving bad witness testimony, initially giving him 6 years of freedom? And what in the system caused Kathy Shank, like this, out of a desk drawer, to blow the fucking dust off of the hottest tip narrative in 55,000 tips?
I have an opinion on that, about how mistakes.
Okay, well, if it's an opinion, please state it. It's not back, and you're stating it.
I think there was a lot of incompetence early on, and if they feel better about blaming it on the task force, like, okay, there was too many cooks in the kitchen. But it still comes down to, I believe in protocol and procedure. Those have to be followed in order to get a conviction. Some people don't have to believe that. They can lay their head on the pillow at night and they're fine. They can say, hey, that sorry son of a bitch is in the place he's supposed to be. I don't care if he's in Indiana, Oklahoma, or wherever. I don't see it that way. I see it as in order, particularly in a case that took this long to quote unquote solve. It needs to be buttoned up. It needs to be, hey, Miranda issues were all followed probably. You're not losing 70 days of this and a week of that and it's too much. It's when incompetence becomes a problem, it can become corruption. And when incompetence starts negatively affecting lives, it can become corruption, because people will do what it takes to keep from being seen as incompetence, because it affects them going forward. It's not even a hard philosophy to understand.
Sure. Let's try to bring your theory though, because I really like where it was going. We're done with mine now. I got that out. Thank you for listening. Um,
I like it. I
so
think
at
it's
the end,
it's good. What made you? Let me ask you this: what made you? How did you get there with it? Same kind of
well,
way
when
you
I
thought there was
saw,
something.
yeah, like I didn't make that before they arrested Richard Allen. That would have been revelatory. That, like
Yeah,
that would I would have known that. Again, after they arrested him, I mean, I just looked at the picture, and then the details started coming in about all the stuff we know now, and I mean, so I felt strong that he was a bridge guy, and I felt
yeah,
that bridge guy was responsible for at least leading the girls to their deaths, whatever that meant. Maybe he didn't
right,
take part in the actual killing, but in Indiana, murder too is not second degree murder anywhere else, as we know. It is its
right.
own designation in the state of Indiana, meaning
Yeah,
that you're already committing a serious enough felony via kidnapping, arson, armed robbery that you can't use this thing where at the end you go, well, I didn't mean for him to die,
yeah.
because in Indiana, you're still eligible for the death penalty.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
with
you
that being
still when
known, since
yeah.
and since he wasn't charged, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say when you say guys down the hill, I mean that's the charges start right there. I mean that start. I mean, what was it? OJ said
Right.
nobody leaves this place
And
and can
since
get false imprisonment for whatever. I mean, so yeah, it doesn't have to be a designated charge because it's already happening under another crime. So
right. I mean, so just to answer your question on this finality, the thing that what initially then would be the arrest of Richard Allen, one, and two, that I felt that he looked like old bridge guy sketch, and that he looked like the guy on the bridge in the video. And although I couldn't tell with voice because I realized that anybody can kind of sound milk toasty in between. You can't. To
yeah,
me, the
yeah,
voice thing was to me the voice thing was the furthest and least amount of my untrained amateur ass and web sleuthing could handle.
yeah, yeah.
So with the
I'm telling
video,
you.
however, you know, well, but maybe with technical equipment, that is something that could be determined. But my ears aren't technical equipment,
Right.
So,
Well, I mean,
um,
I mean, there's things that should go along with an individual who's 5'3" or 5'4", whatever. Um, you know, the fact that there was no height, there was no measurement, digital, whatever, done. The fact, I mean, if think about it this way: if Richard Allen's the guy and law enforcement would determine he was that short in the beginning, would this have happened? Would we be? I mean, doesn't that narrow it way the
wait,
hell
repeat that.
down?
Wait,
If law
can you repeat the
enforcement would,
question, please? I'm sorry.
yeah, if law enforcement had verified, if Richard Allen's bridge guy and he killed the girl, if law enforcement had verified his height or lack thereof early on, would we even
Mhm.
would this have stretched out like it had? That would have narrowed the candidate pool, the suspect pool down
Oh,
to
hold on.
way down, right?
I mean,
And
wait, there wasn't a height, there wasn't any kind of height range though initially.
yeah, it was the 5'6" to 5'10", but you had a witness saying no, he came up, or I came up to his shoulder, and you got another one that's saying so. There was nothing definitive. Again, it, if
I
that
can
could have
I
been,
contend that he heightened. I believe, like the Seinfeld episode with the little people, that he heightened. I really do believe that height absolutely plays some kind of important role, and especially when you consider he changed his own height by 2 inches with the DNR on his official fishing license per Dan Doolin
yeah.
in testimony, which Dan Doolin even admitted he thought was odd.
Well,
Now that he looked back at it, although he
but
didn't never considered him a suspect,
let me play devil's advocate for you a second. I taught one day on Reddit
Okay.
to Mike, or not Mike, right? David Riley's daughter, and she was talking about her father being out that day, and came to realize that's who it was. She said, but law enforcement he's only 5'4", so law enforcement said he was too short to be BG. So that you got one guy who is cleared because he's 5'4", and then you got another guy that it points dead at him. So again, you needed something definitive. It needed to be done through some kind of forensics way. So you can't, that, and if you got a guy 5'4", you've narrowed it down to how many 5'4" guys are there. And I mean,
right.
Bonnie
Oh
Blair,
no, I agree totally.
Bonnie Blair
In a community of 3,000, if you think it's local, in a community of 3,000, if you think it's a local crime and that, like I said, the person lives somewhat locally, even expanded a little, 4,000 or 5,000, the littler communities around it, that, okay, look at a few obvious things, like you're talking about, the obvious things, height. Look at who didn't work that day. Look at, I don't know, the person that possibly met an official who was sent there to take his testimony under, Dan Doolin didn't meet him there just because he wanted to meet him up. He was directed by the task force to go there and take his.
And then never brought it up.
And then they're going to come back and say they never saw any of that shit. But you're the ones that sent Dan Doolin there in the first place. That's where it really gets fishy. It really gets fishy for me around there. I mean, that's what I don't like.
If everything fits perfectly, you're telling me Dan Doolin to say, hey, that looks like the guy I interviewed that day. Did y'all ever follow up with him? With who, Dan? The guy who I interviewed that day. For all we know, that may have happened. I mean, look, there's so much shit that's being suppressed. It's
I mean, according to testimony, it was entered into Central Command on the 18th. Okay, so Central Command was comprised of Delphi City, County, State Police, FBI, and multiple law enforcement agencies as defined in the article around the state. Now you're telling me that at the end of 6 years, they claim not to have known about a tip narrative that every single law enforcement agency in the state and half the fucking country knew about.
Well, it's like,
and do it with a straight face. And do it with a straight face. And you better take your medicine, boy, and you better take it.
That was when everything was being blamed on the FBI. FBI at that point couldn't go fetch a video tag from a camera. They couldn't keep a tip. They couldn't, their sketch artist was the only one that happened to do it for this girl who ends up being the star witness. No, he didn't do a sketch for anybody else. It was almost like the FBI was this. Hey, we got to have a scapegoat here, and you guys aren't here on a regular basis. You're talking cost your jobs. I mean, the whole thing is so. I mean, look again.
Like watching Super Troopers. There's not one cop that has any investigative prowess in that entire area. They're all sucking down maple syrup at the local fucking breakfast joint.
Wait till we read the email from a guy named Roy West to Jerry Holmes.
Pick drop.
And he talks about Roy West's kind of a famous detective in the state of Indiana. He's I think closed a lot of cases and is real well known. He had gone to Delphi to meet with the task force and get up to speed and make some suggestions on what they should do. He references hey, he even says, hey, don't forget about the guy that the girl saw down on the bridge. Okay, this is like 4 months after the murder. Okay, don't forget about him. There's a guy that the only witness who saw the girl saw a guy that they were walking directly in his path, and they just disregarded her. Didn't follow up on who the hell that guy was. I mean, are you for real? I mean, is that how it works? We got to clear everybody until there's just one left. Well, what happens when you don't clear anybody? What happens when you don't even investigate anything? Yeah, that's like the thing with Betsy Blair's car. She the car she saw. She said, "Oh, I was so attentive and all this." Well, why didn't you do that little sketch of that car for 2 years? Why? I mean, why? If it was, I mean, it appears so much. It literally appears that the investigation or the preparation for the trial was retrofitted to fit what they ended up finding, not what went on in the investigation in those years. So I can tell you, they don't want anybody to know what happened in those first 2 years. They do not want anybody to know that. And because
Do you
the
know what the
level of
marathon station? Do you know what the marathon station was called before a marathon station?
no, I don't.
It was called Shell on the Hill, and the owners of that station were locals before they sold out to whoever bought the marathon or that Shell, and then whatever happened. And they were their son was really good friends with Keegan Klein, who had
Yeah,
never been to Delphi before.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know that Shell on the Hill, that marathon station, was one of the first gas stations in the entire country to have a Bitcoin ATM.
Well, look, here's the thing. They focused on the Klein investigation was different than the investigation involving anyone else. Okay, and it started from the very beginning. Um, I became friends with Dennis Sinkovich, a guy whose brother is the uh, uh, prosecutor in Miami County and Peru's in Miami County, and he was talking about how the FBI had rolled in heavy in Peru to do a search warrant on when they discovered Klein and his uh, sextortion stuff, right? And so no other witness had been searched that way, and they closed a major thoroughfare down in Peru to do this, and then that when they circle back to him for however that went down, law enforcement had never, these are things that you notice as you go along because they're important, but people don't realize is law enforcement had never released anything, never given out anything, and all of a sudden they're letting his investigation play out in public view and letting Murder
Mhm.
Sheet narrate it for us. Give us all the particulars. Tell us about helicopter ride. Tell us about what they're putting out. It was so totally different than any of the other people that had been investigated. There was
I
either
agree.
something that was there that they just couldn't find, that maybe they lost, or I mean, they did kind of lose him. So what would make you think they wouldn't lose the information anyway? Um, and so they could never find anything that can't. And so if you can't put him there, and if all you got, hey, I was planning on meeting, that doesn't put you there. But it gives you an
Well, then
idea.
what about the river search?
He
You know
might
what
have been
really?
there.
But what about the
That
river search? Wouldn't that
that's what I'm
indicate
saying.
after a lie detector test that he either knew something or didn't answer something properly that led them to that river?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, I know a lie all the time, but what happens all the time is you don't know whether to believe them all the time. It doesn't matter if they're lying or not; it's whether you believe them or not. So even if he would have told them something past life, that's something they would have even believed. They know the guy's deceptive. They know that's kind of his mo, and he even kind of
Yeah, but I know. But
plays
listen,
around.
I know. But we're
Oh,
in a
again,
state where
again,
money is so important, in a county.
right?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that they take they go and take this guy to Grisham Air Force
Mm,
Base, give him the lie
yeah,
detector test, and then based on something that he either said or answered improperly, one of those two things, we don't know which way,
yeah.
led them to $1 million search in that
Uh,
river for almost a month.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that you're probably not aware of. I did an extensive amount of research on the investigation into Brian Keel, Buster, aka Buster Hernandez. He was the guy who was terrorizing Indiana with sextortion, and his mo was
Mhm.
identical to Klein. He sextorted and bribed these girls and to send pictures, or he was going to do something, tell their parents, and he did these weird bomb threats. There was a bomb threat early on in the case, and there were just a lot of similarities. He used Dropbox to disseminate the photos. His mo was exactly the same, and they couldn't find him, and they were ultra. This was happening right when the girls were killed. Okay, and the advent of the Indiana Crimes Against Children unit was just getting going, and that unit is how it functions is federal funding. Okay, federal funding is how they support the unit. A river search, $1 million river search in the biggest crime in the history of the state would be something that would give them the upper or the advantage in getting federal dollars that were more than a lot more than $1 million. I'm not saying that's why they did it, but you got to admit it looked awful lot like.
So you're
like
saying though, that you
business
have
out there with the
researched this.
guys.
You're saying you've researched
Extensively.
this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That you have researched this, and it was paid for federally.
That's how the internet crimes. There in Indiana, they used to have a cyber unit. The ISP had a cyber unit. A guy named Chuck Cohen ran it. Okay. The federal government came up with the Internet Crimes Against Children federal.
Would that be why they took him to Grisham instead of a state-run facility? Question mark.
That's a good question. I've never thought about that. But the thing is they that's how they support
Interesting.
I'll be more than happy to give it all to you. It's when you look at the timing of everything, I honestly think that when they rolled in heavy on Klein, I think they thought they found Buster Hernandez.
Oh, interesting. I noticed the signal was breaking up a little bit on my end, everyone. Do we sound okay? I'm going to go ahead and pop out a video and just be Charles Nelson Riley. Skip, no offense, not to take away from the seriousness of the topic matter, but I don't know how to change my icon during the interview. So I'm Charles Nelson Riley for a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's interesting to me.
I'll show you all the information and come on the show and talk about it. Like I said, I did an incredible amount of information on it. And hey, it all lined up, the dates, they even floated an article less than a week after the girls were killed about how the ICAC needed funding. It was almost like this whole thing has almost been like, we got to have a reason for why this is, because the worst, look, this Buster Hernandez, he described killing young Indiana girls about their age exactly like the girls died. He talked about slitting throats. He talked about their private parts. He talked about this and that. He did bomb threats. There was one at Packers that night. There were so many things that could have led you, and I wouldn't have blamed law enforcement because this guy was number one on their list of guys they were trying to find. They couldn't get past his computer security, his VPN, so they couldn't find out who he was. But it was all happening. He ended up not being from Indiana, but it was all happening in Indiana. That's where he was terrorizing, and so they didn't have any reason to believe he wasn't from Indiana. And so,
but also he was from California. He was from California, and there was an early California connection. Am I wrong on that?
What do you in terms of Delphi having a California connection?
In terms of the investigation into Keegan Klein, it went from Las Vegas to California.
Yeah. I think I really do. I think when you see all this, I think you'd probably come to the same. You'd probably come to the same determination as well, as that they thought they had a big fish, and when they realized they didn't, they walked out of there and they just kind of forgot about him. I honestly think they thought, because their worst.
I'm not so sure they didn't have a big fish.
Well, they may have.
I'm not confident of that.
They may have, and those two guys may have known each other. That community seems to work together on things like that. But the thing is when their worst fear was, they're trying to get this Internet Crimes Against Children unit going there. It needs funding. They're not getting it, and they walk up on a crime that it mimics exactly what the guy they're after they can't find was threatening to do to young Indiana girls, right? If you're that guy, you're Chuck Cohen or you're Doug Carter, and you have a vested interest in this group being successful, there's no way it almost wouldn't go through your mind that, hey, how this guy was terrorizing Cohen and the ISP via social media, and they couldn't find him. It was, it had
Oh yeah, I
become
know. He was
almost,
taunting. He
become
was
almost,
taunting them.
taunting you. It had almost become an embarrassment, And so if he finally went through, what happens if he finally went through? Thinking about it from their standpoint, oh shit, that guy finally went through and killed 2 girls after all these threats.
Right.
After that, and so
This
I
isn't
think
a
maybe
community. In other words, this isn't a community where they're going to be saying like, "Oh, I proudly know this person and I proudly know that person." They're
right,
pretty much never going to admit that kind of shit because even if they get found guilty of something, the mere at that point, especially, what do you call that? At least say it in the old days, like if you had a gay friend and made you gay too,
yeah,
guilt by association.
so you're right,
Okay,
right.
so I mean, they're
Well,
they're already guilty of these horrible crimes, and to then go on and say I knew this criminal or that weird person only puts the spotlight on themselves even more, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Well, listen, when you're public image conscious, and how do you explain that? How do you say, hey, this guy's been terrorizing us for 2 years, and we can't get you? I mean, now he's all of a sudden killing little girls in Indiana. I mean, that had to, if was the thought, that had to have been a incredibly bad moment for them. And I think they had some things like that, and that may have been because the feds were the one who they were in their Tahoes in Peru when they rolled it 20 cars or whatever it was. They thought he was somebody they were looking for, and it had to be more than just the Delphi murders because none of the other suspects were ever given that kind of treatment. So. There, look. Is it possible that, I mean, look, these guys aren't perfect. The law, I mean, and they have agendas. But is it perfect? Is it possible that all things being equal, it works out best if there's a digital component to this? You know what I'm saying? It's like that's where the money comes from. Let's face it. That's what the money is. Federal funding is for is solving digital crimes and the equipment needed and all that kind of stuff. So, in Chuck Cohen's mind, is it possible he's thinking, hey, all things being equal, and so that got a little more focus? It's possible. I don't know, but it's look, like I said, these guys are human. They what happened before the crime, the murders of the girl, is a factor in this. People don't go all the way back there, but at a minimum, it puts law enforcement in a mindset that affects their investigation. And I think that's what happened.
Cryptex and would like me to ask, and so
Yeah.
I will. Of course, I was going to ask anyways, but Farmer, can you ask Skip about his opinions in regards of YouTubers working with law enforcement?
How do I feel about it? Is that what the
Well,
question
it
is?
says about his opinions, about your opinions. He would like to know what's
I
your
don't.
opinion on working with law enforcement in from a YouTuber standpoint. Like as a YouTuber working with LE. In other words, and Cryptex, in all fairness, I watched a show that he did, uh, uh, going over, I believe, if you're okay with me talking about this subject
No, yeah,
matter,
sure, yeah, that's fine.
Skip, are you okay with going into
Yeah,
this?
yeah, no problem.
Okay, I just want to make sure because we didn't really discuss this in the sort of pre-interview time, and I don't
Yeah,
want to spring shit on you.
yeah,
But of course, you guys may or may not know that Skip testified in the contempt hearing. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, so I think what Cryptex is asking you then would be from that standpoint. Farmer, can you ask Skip about his opinions in regards of YouTubers working with law enforcement?
My opinion of it is it, the onus is more on law enforcement. They're the ones that are uh, is volunteering going to law enforcement officer is that's a tip or a piece of information that might help. I don't have a huge problem with that, and I think people got everything wrong about why I testified. I saw the issue being Gull, McClellan, and not Fig or whether you like Fig or not. it was more about how they were handling it, right?
And
And
do you want to talk at all about like what sort of what do you want to talk at all about what sort of just quit? And you can go through it quickly. What sort of just led up to that, or what, you know what I mean? And then just kind of breeze through it, or do you want to skip that part?
no, it's really simple, and I still have all the evidence
Go
that
ahead.
shows it. Is Fig and I were good friends. We talked about the case a lot. I was on his show several times. I wrote one of his shows. We were, even though we had different beliefs in the case, we had we found common ground, and so just over the course of time, Fig being he was a pretty aggressive guy when it came to trying to find out information, and he basically told me, "Hey, talking to McClellan, and kind of it was always kind of in a, he always thought we were competing for some reason. It was like, hey, I mean, one thing says he's, what have you done for your prosecutor today, and kind of like patting himself on the back, and he's he said, hey, I've got a source with the judge, I'm not responding a whole lot to it because I'm like, obviously at that time I did, because it was, hey, there's these documents coming out. They're coming out on Wednesday. Here's what they entail. And then, hey, the PCA, the one we saw, the 8-pager, that's version 2.0. And just so there was a lot of stuff in there that would have been unique to McClellan or to the court, to Judge Gull's office, that I knew it had to be true, because the things he kept saying kept happening. And so
Right.
when the contempt thing happened, I was people knew I had that information. I didn't go around showing everybody, but and the defense, they asked if I would be involved, and because they were trying to get back on the case. Man, they thought they were gone. I mean, when I went to Fort Wayne for the hearing that morning, I mean, I'm sitting there talking to Brad Rosie, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to jail, man. She wants to put us in jail." And fortunately, that didn't happen. They got, they won that aspect of it. So they got to continue on as Richard Allen's attorney, and so it felt like it was a win. I don't know, however you want to look at it. It didn't seem to affect the case. It just allowed his attorneys, and that was just about a fairness thing. It was, hey, if this is what you're doing, and you did it to get them thrown off the case, then now we're talking about undermining stuff, and that's not acceptable. When you start conducting yourself, when you start inserting yourself into a case where you're changing things, that's over the line. That's way over the line. So that, for me to answer Cryptek's question, I would say there's a line there, and it probably it was definitely crossed. Luckily it, and like I said, I still have all of all of the text conversations still on my phone. People say, "Oh, screenshots."
Sure.
I don't have screenshots. I have
No. I'm not hammering you. I'm not. No, I don't think anyone's hammering you for like
no. But people have.
like that.
People have. They said, "Oh, well, you gonna believe a screenshot?"
No, you won't find that over here at this channel. We wouldn't ask you. We wouldn't ask you to be a guest and then ask you to present evidence on the air. That would be absolutely rude and ridiculous.
No,
I just wanted to make sure you were comfortable even talking about it at all.
I'm absolutely.
And I appreciate you addressing Cryptek's question. I really do.
Yeah. And like I said, I did what I thought was right. Told the truth under oath.
Right.
If they would have thought I lied under oath, they could have charged me with perjury. You know what the chances of that ever happening?
They would have.
0. Because they know the truth. The people involved know the truth. Whether they talk about that, when they talk about it to others, I don't know. I don't really care. Because they know the truth and I know the truth. And the truth is on my side. So, like I said, I put that behind me. I'm not. It's over. I'm not interested in getting into a big feud. I will only do that if somebody challenges me on it, because the one
Sure.
thing I've hated more than anything about this case, I've been accused of lying about things I never didn't lie about. And the blowback I got for the theory that I released, was not I mean, it was not balanced with what was put out. I mean, it was not like the first guy who had ever been brought up before. The blowback and subsequent things that happened, like Murder Sheet coming and being one of the very first things they did in the case was to do a show just to discredit me. And it was like literally the first thing they did. They got in touch with me 3 days after this, and they had not even been covering Delphi. But here's the thing: they don't have to explain themselves. They just go around talking about their book. But when they start doing stuff like that, they would be offended if I went around telling that story. When the truth doesn't help people, so it's kind of why people lie, because the truth isn't in their best interest. And so that's been the biggest thing for me but what the blowback did was it showed me that they wouldn't be doing this if I was a total dumbass and I wasn't on to something, and I'm on to something they don't want out there. And so that's why I kept peddling away at it until I finally got it all where I know what happened now.
Well, I will say one thing. I mean, Skip, it's clear that you wouldn't have had to testify in that there if you didn't have some doggone if not, I don't want to say where the information went, because I do believe then wasn't that sort of didn't that get sort of dismissed from the trial, that part of it? Go ahead.
Well, it was done in, obviously, as a question and answer. David Hennessy was interviewing me on during my testimony on the stand, and every question was objected to, every answer was objected to, but Hennessy's a bright guy. He told me we went out to dinner the night before, and he kind of got me ahead of it. He said, "Look, your testimony is going to be key." He said, "Let me just explain." He told me exactly what he goes. She's going to object to it, and she's going to sustain every single thing. It's going to be based on relevance. He said, but they're going to hear what you know and what you have. He said, and that's going to be the difference. They're not going to throw the defense off a team when they know that their behavior hasn't exactly been exemplary as well. And so well, whether it was wiped off, it's still in the transcripts, and it was still heard. The people who needed to hear it heard it. Doesn't matter if it was what officially allowed as part of the trial or not. It was heard by the people who involved. And it was a little intimidating going up there and saying, "Hey, yeah, Prosecutor McClellan was involved in this, and Judge Gull's assistant." Yeah, because I'm sitting right next to Gull. I mean, I can reach out and grab her.
Good thing you didn't do that. No, I don't recommend that.
I'm just saying I could have touched her, and the court report. She's sitting there, So when it's that close quarters, and look. It wasn't people didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't want anybody to make a big deal out of it. I'm glad they didn't. It's not the last. I'm not interested in credit for anything. I'm not interested in praise. I'm interested in finding out the truth, and that has been. It's much easier to get praise in this case than it is to find the truth. The truth's the hardest thing to find in this case, the absolute truth, because it seems like everybody has a caveat there that they're not willing to let go so the truth can be told. They're either protecting somebody, protecting their own self-interest. They're doing something that won't allow them to completely get to the truth. And I think there's more people who actually know than we any of us probably realize, but they can't get there because of they're not willing to take that one exception that they can't, oh, I can't throw him under the bus, or I can't throw her, or she told me this in confidence, and that could get Richard Allen out of prison, but I can't talk about that, I can't say that Tobe told me that Daniel Pearson was the primary witness on February the 6th, 2019. Tobe told a individual doing a story on Delphi, a documentary, that Daniel Pearson was the primary witness, and he was the exodus witness that saw BG going toward the Freedom Bridge. That's part of the story. That's part of the story because it shows what really happened. And
have you ever been to the location?
I'm going to get it out there. I promise you I am. It's going to be told. Will everybody comprehend it, everything immediately? Maybe, because there's a lot of stuff. But I mean, I've just finished a project I was working on where it's called the investigation timeline. It consists of the day after the day the girls were found till the sketch change, and then anything that was related to the sketch change from a information standpoint is included as well. But it shows those first 2 years, and it's like over 30 data points with almost 100 documents of evidence that support it. I've done it this long. I don't really enjoy anything about what's going on in this case anymore. I see a lot of selfish people not willing to put their swords down for the greater good, and they've convinced themselves that they're in the right what they're doing, but you're forgetting about the what should be the real focus if you're even considering that. If that's your train of thought about you, then you've lost your perspective.
Right. Yeah. When you're not willing to listen, I mean, even my own theory is 3 years old. I feel it's still loose enough. I kept it loose initially based on the main suspect. It's not like I was breaking too much new ground. I will say that as far as I know, I'm the first person to say he was responsible for both sketches, in that he was, as a composite, Old Bridge Guy sketch, and he was personally responsible, either himself or by proxy, for Young Bridge Guy sketch, which was actually drawn first.
Yeah, here's the thing. Let me ask you this. Let's say that now that you know that we have proof that Daniel Pearson was there at 1:30, and that puts him in being on that bridge at 1:55 when BB saw a guy who she described as basically him in sketches. Basically, I mean, you got one guy there in his 20s. She describes the guy in his 20s, and nobody will consider it's him. Are you fucking kidding me right now? I mean, what's going on? I mean, for real.
Skip Jansen dropped his first F-bomb, baby. Come on.
It's frustrating. People need to check themselves and say, why am I not considering the obvious? Why am I going that extra mile to walk away from the obvious? And look, I know very few things are obvious in this case because of the misinformation that's been disseminated, but it's out there. And there's things that every piece of the puzzle goes right together, and it's not a difficult fit. But you got to believe it when you see it. You've got to realize that, hey, I just finished that puzzle, and nobody can tell you didn't.
That's true.
But you got to trust it, and I don't think people will. That, and the fact that they won't go against the people that they investigate with and all that stuff. I've always thought that
you're right. I'd like to say something about that. I would like to say something about that. There are a lot of let's say, allyships between certain creators, whereas they're going to just basically let their friends, quote unquote friends, go on with bad information on purpose just to make money, basically. Let's just say it, Skip. They're there to make fucking money. Now, I'm proudly a non-monetized channel. I don't make a damn dollar off anything, true crime, or even just when we do our thing. And I'm glad of that, because to me that would taint and muddy the fun of this for me, because then I have an agenda, right? Because then
Correct.
you can't trust what I say or what I think, because ultimately you have to be thinking, well, if money is your goal, then maybe you're just saying or doing something to get to that goal, depending on how goal oriented you are. Anybody knows me knows that's not possible, because I'm the opposite of goal oriented. Go ahead.
Right. If money trumps the truth, then the truth is never going to be seen. It's just the way it is.
Right.
I mean, so yeah. Look, I don't begrudge anybody why they came in the case. I mean, if you're a ghoul and you just like, or whatever, that's fine. If you think you're a super sleuth and you can figure it out, that's fine. If you just want to make some friends, that's fine. I don't give a shit why anybody comes and follows this case, right?
Right.
And that's
where I feel like it organically, I guess, not that this is Delphi related, or even that I should be talking about myself at this point, but I am a camera whore, and let me bloviate. That's how I got started doing this. Is that, I never wanted to do a show. Anybody knows I'm like you, Skip. I suddenly rediscovered this case because way before the word true crime was cool. I was raised in a household of people that were obsessed with these crazy murders, with local murders that I know way too much about, where my own grandmother would stop, get on her hands and knees, and try to find evidence at a murder scene that maybe the police forgot. Okay, so when you come from it from that aspect, I've always paid attention, and it was that video initially, and that initial audio that really, and even when here's what I remember when I first read about this case. Have you guys ever done something where you end up knowing the situation, but until 2019, my only knowledge of this case, I knew they had been gone to a trail that day to go for a walk, but I never even associated the high bridge with that place. I thought it was just a normal trail system. So until 2019, so I had that previous knowledge since the day it happened, because I read the news every day. It was a big news story when it happened the very day up here in Michigan. Anyways, we're only a few hours away, and it was definitely, and I always read the local news cycle daily, multiple times. So I was aware of it, and it was so anomalous. And I watched that video, and then I thought, and then I kind of forgot about it, like probably a lot of people did. Right. And then it caught fire at some point. Now, I'm like you, Skip. I never knew that you could talk to people online. I mean, I knew about it. I wasn't willing to take part in that process. I had a healthy amount of what I call flesh and blood friends. Not that I'm making a distinction, better or worse, but I'm saying, people in my life that I was just around. I was working nonstop, and the thought of communicating with someone online felt completely fake. Then COVID happened, right? Where I kept working, but other people were reaching out then all of a sudden. And people started doing more creative projects from home, I guess. And the very first time I ever keyed into true crime at all, because I've always loved broadcasting, and I've always loved pirate radio style. Skip, we were talking about this in our back channel communications about college radio stations, but if you apply that same ethos to YouTube, it is very much like I tell, one of the things I initially said, if you don't love, pro sports, but you love college sports, well, then I'm your guy, because basically it's money free until recently. And it's really more about the getting there than it is about the there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
from my standpoint.
No, I agree.
I pause.
I totally agree with that. That's the adventure. That's the.
Totally, yeah.
I
I was going to bring that around to an actual bigger point, but I completely got lost in my own bullshit. So,
well, one thing I wanted to say is we haven't really compared what information has been found compared to what was admitted or um, released in discovery or whatever at the trial. Um, I think most people realize that the guy we've talked about, his companion that day went on trial, went get her testimony, and was dishonest during that. I mean, what the hell, man? I mean, why is, I mean, I mean, she talks about how she had her car and she knew she went and drove it there and they drove it there, and then oh well, but he dropped her off back at her car later on. Well, how did he drop you off at your car if y'all were in your car originally, if he didn't have his car there? See, so it's like, I know they get coached, and I know Diener, Stacey Dieners are good at that, and I know but um um but that's, to me, that's not acceptable. I know the court system has changed. I know winning is more important than discovering, finding the truth. But you know, there's just some things for me that you can't leave out. You don't get to make your own determinations on what's relevant information and what's not. I know you can for the trial because you want to, customize it for that particular case. I mean, look, if do you know the only way to get a 5'4" guy who's bald and 40 something to become a 20-year-old guy with poofy brown hair and normal height?
I know the answer to that. Yeah, a couple mixed drinks.
You make everybody else disappear, and he's the only option. If you bring in a guy who matches that sketch
exactly
and say he was out here that day,
that's
and
right.
you ask the jury, 12 out of 12 would say that's who she saw. See, that's the thing. If you ask people,
law enforcement could have done that right from the beginning by parsing down height, weight, who had the day off, the gender, the color. These simple things would have taken 3,000 people down to 30 fucking people at the most. And then you go from there. That process doesn't seem to have taken place.
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. I don't like the manipulation of it. I mean, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's not.
You do it through a series of deductions.
Right. Oh, I would have loved to have been the attorney on the defense side that day. I would have loved to say, hey, we're calling him, and say, hey, why did you say you got here this time? We got your friends here. This friend, so-and-so, him, he's your best buddy. Why is he saying you got there at 1:30? Why is your companion saying, her grandfather saying you got there at 1:30? What about 1:30 was not good, convenient for you? I mean, what, it wouldn't have been hard to impeach the witnesses. It really wouldn't have. All you would have had to show
at all.
There's another option.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
They didn't even show there's another option. But here's the ironic part. The fact is there is another option for both sketches, for both witnesses. It gives people, it may not be everything, but in a reasonable doubt, when you've got a choice and you don't know which one of them did it, and you don't know who was the person that was there that was seen, and they're basing their entire trial on these two witnesses and the time frame that they're because if they have to put Richard Allen there at those times, you impeach both of those, he walks out of there, and that could have happened. That was the potential for that to happen was there.
No, you got a point.
And it's just, it's disappointing. That's why
I'm going to make sure this is told.
And if it has any effect on him, that great. I hope, I hope some justice and fairness involved. If it doesn't, that's fine too. That's not. It just needs to be out there because it's been avoided for too long, and it's been avoided for a reason. And I don't.
I think that
I don't give a shit what they think about my opinion, or going how I go about it.
sure.
I don't give a shit about theirs. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a stake. You don't have a horse. You don't have a horse in the race. I mean, you're just like you want to get to the truth.
I'm not the one. I'm not the one manipulating certain circumstances at trial, right? I'm not the one that's not exactly being honest in discovery. I mean, there's things that I have. The only reason I think there's the appeal thing's possible because they usually aren't. I mean, the percentage is just almost zero, but I think there was some things, and I think they're pretty obvious. If they get the right group that doesn't is tired of seeing that kind of bullshit, then they'll get a new trial, and all this stuff can be introduced, and now we got some real reasonable doubt, and we get a fair trial.
And let me ask you something. On the not on the guilt or innocence of Richard Allen, but in your theory, in your amended, not necessarily even theory, but in your bring everything now up to date. Bring everything up to October 25. Is there room for Richard Allen in your personal narrative as it pertains to this case?
To be as far as being bridge guy, or
as far as being involved at all.
Yeah. I thought a little bit about it. I've been so focused on, the one thing I noticed about this case was when I first started was this case was so. It was so POI centric. It's like everybody's got a POI, and there's 3,000 people in. There's like 100 POIs. I mean, what? It was weird. That's why
it could have been its own.
Usually,
it should have been a board game. I'm not sure. Should have been really, but it could have been a who done it with who done it, what weapon in what in a barn, in a shed, in the woods, on a motorcycle with a white Dodge Dart, it's like what's going on,
and every kind of criminal known to man is there. I mean, as somebody that you can look at and say whether it's you take a guy like the Chadwell guy or Garrett Kurtz. I mean, those two guys are made.
Oh sure, yeah,
made in
quality guys, real quality guys.
Made in a shop criminals. I mean, it's not hard to convince anybody those guys did something bad, right? But again, unless you can put them there, they're not. Whether it's the guy, everything seems like it's there, but until you can put them there, it's not them. And so, but there was those. I mean, you had sextortion guys. You had ritualistic guys. You had drugs.
It's all there. You had drug rings. You had sex rings. You got underage shit. You got the meth. It's like you name it. Now suddenly, and then a couple years in, you got the Odinist. You got you name it. You got some melting pot of dirty bullshit down there that's ready to just ruin somebody's life.
With this backdrop of the digital component that is advantageous, almost it seems like to that would the way where the crime happened in such a ruin, it all the random being something random almost seemed impossible. I understand how people got there. It's like, I mean, the fact that they just happened to be out there the same day a guy's kills them out there is just
they get
the
there.
Odds of that are just low. So, I mean, I understand how people think there was some kind of a meeting, how they were lured, and it could be something. It could be something that is that, but not exactly what you think. It could be something like they were lured, but it wasn't
right.
The person who lured them wasn't part of the, and they didn't know they were going to get killed. and that's why that part of it has been denied and not allowed to be maybe looked at completely, because that was, it wasn't
Sure.
meant to be. Wasn't meant to be, but it just happened to be a situation like that. So the one thing I've always felt like is that everybody has a little bit of this case right. But as long as we stay at each other's throats, we're never going to be able to put all that information together. And I would suggest everybody is quit being a, a selfish son of a bitch, and and
Right.
and and focus on what's right, doing the right thing. You know,
Would you
because
also agree that for such a small community that there's been an extraordinarily high crossover rate between the World Wide Web and small town collision, so to speak?
oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
Like, in a way, it's probably never been done before. If you think about it, here a community of 3,000 is suddenly now mixing it up as their own sort of a collective being on the
they,
world stage. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I said from the very beginning, I thought the small town aspect of this was going to play a really big role. It did, but it didn't play out like I thought it was going to play out. I thought it was going. I
Right.
thought it would. It played out like
Yeah,
totally different than
I thought it would come down to bloodlines and ancient history. What
yeah.
was really happening is they've almost taken the bull by the reins and sort of driven their own local narrative on a worldwide level.
Well, yeah.
Hats
Well,
off to the fucking dirty criminals of Delphi.
when when you look at and see how McClellan became the prosecutor of Carroll County, and the hoops that were jumped
Do you
through
want to
to
go in? Do you want to go into that at all? Do you want to go into
put
that at all?
we talk about it, put him in that spot is just it's unbelievable, man. It's like somebody wanted him in that spot. Now I don't know if that had anything to do with the Delphi case, but somebody wanted him there because he was not the
Right.
most qualified. He was going to
Almost.
cost the county a couple of $100,000. But the caucus, the Republican caucus that made the determination was not going to have anything but him be the prosecutor uh, when I stepped down. I mean, the conflict of interest with just the being the public defender was going to create a lot of costs in special defenders, but also it was, or special prosecutors. It was also going to be um, there was also going to be conflict of interest in it. Well, I mean, hell, basically everything. He represented like 3/4 of the people that voted in this for who was going to be the next president. He was in private practice when he was a public defender, and he represented people in town or Deer Creek Township, in this township, and that township. He was their attorney, and now they're the ones making the decision. I mean, I thought when I read the articles, it was really in depth and really well written by this gal at the Carroll County Comment. I thought it was a good piece of journalism, and because it was just really precise, really to the point, and didn't pull any punches.
Mhm.
But the amazing part was the people being interviewed didn't seem to have any trepidation or shame or anything to hide. Like, it's just standard operating procedure. Why are you even asking me those questions? Yeah, we're costing the county $200,000, but well, that's we do. That's the way we do it. That's the way we roll. It's like, well, I'm not scared to answer that. The attitude is just so it's different than I'm accustomed to, I guess. But it was
Yeah.
I thought I was reading Mag Magazine. I thought it was a spoof when I was reading it. I was like, this can't be true. I was like, this can't be true. But it was.
Yeah,
It
but
was
it turns out that Mad Magazine had a lot more in life pegged than just Delphi.
exactly. Yeah, it would have actually been a good piece for them, something like that to run. Because it was like, hey, let's ignore the guy who's got 7 more years of experience and is the obvious guy to just filled in the slot, and bring in this young whippersnapper, public defender that's all of our law.
With and also you said you had mentioned, wasn't there a few conflicts of interest too? Like, let's say, for example, if someone, because of the position he held before, it could have really affected some of the outcomes of some of those cases, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, it would have been he when he was the public defender, he represented every piece of shit in that county and or three counties, right? So those kind of
Right.
people are still going to be brought up on drug charges. So now he has to prosecute them. Well, he can't do it. He can't prosecute some. They don't allow him to prosecute somebody he's represented as a defender in the past. So you got to hire special prosecutors. That costs money. That's monies that even though that
Okay.
position's
So
paid
let's
for by the state,
so let's
it's
pause.
yeah.
Pause for a second. So then let's take that and say, based on your question before that, let's take Delphi out of the equation.
Mhm.
Then, since that causes a conflict of interest and could possibly set bad actors free or not charge at all, then could it be the very people that he helped defend?
Yeah, absolutely, it could be. Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's sort of where you're heading here, right?
Well, yeah, that and the money, because even though that position is paid for by the state, the funds were appropriated funds have to be paid for by, or they're appropriated by the county. The county is responsible for special prosecutors, even though the state pays the prosecutor's salary. So Carroll County got stuck with a bill of about $200,000 just so he could become prosecutor. So when he was up there begging money, telling them that he needed, and they didn't understand why he wouldn't give it, he needed to remember that he cost them about 200 grand, and he probably just needed to be satisfied with what he had. But those kind of people don't really act that way. You know how that goes.
Right. Let me ask you, how do you feel about the historical significance of the Gerard family?
I don't know them. I don't know the Gerard family. Does that
Well, it
family?
just so happens that the girls were found on basically the banks of the Mary Gerard Land Conservancy, a place
Yeah,
Andrews
yeah, yeah.
is in charge of, and that she is the direct relative of the McCains.
Yeah, isn't that if you go continue down the 505 down to where it goes down by the water? Isn't that the Mary? Or is that the Gerard Preserve or whatever it's called, or part of it? Um,
Sure.
yeah, because
I don't know exactly where that is right there. And
I don't know.
the reason the McCains are so tied to that land is because I believe they were the previous owners of it.
Well, look, man, in small towns, land is wealth. You know, it's not like you have an industry and people are just piling money on top of each other because they're creating stuff. It's the whoever has the most land, and so acquiring land is crucial in gaining wealth. Um, and that's not surprising. He probably, I mean, the guy who had some means to do that was probably, and uh, those kind of situations aren't always on the, yeah, buying new property and learning about the new roads being built and buying property so it can be sold to government at a higher rate because you learned about information about that. Those kind of things happen all the time, and they happen in
Yeah,
small
buying
rural
things.
areas.
Oh, sure, happens all the time, and I'll give you a great example of how that does happen. For example, Becky Patty's company, which is the only one in that area that does assess home values. For example, had assessed the Flora house at $400,000 when previously it was worth less than $100,000,
Yeah,
and that within 90 days of that assessment, it burnt to the ground.
right. Yeah, how do you think the person who owned all the land that where the Hoosier Heartland Highway cut through, and had to buy, the government of the state had to buy all that land from? How do you think they ended up? Probably pretty damn good, right? It'd be interesting to look at the. It'd be
Sure.
interesting to look at the sales
Well, I can tell you
from
that I've already
around
done
that
some
time.
of that research. I've already done some of that research, and I can tell you that that before the Mears owned that property, there was another notable name that owned that property. That property has not switched hands very often around there. That Logan owned that property for the last 40 some or 50 years. Although he was a new purchaser of that property, it wasn't a family hand-me-down as far as I knew, only to his own kid. So these families have been in the area a long time. This is where that small town thing comes in, and this sort of overarching creepy feeling I get. And it doesn't mean it's a damn bit of truth to it. I'm not speculating any of these people are involved, but I'm saying it would make for one hell of a series on Showtime, because it feels as if, that everybody has their selfish reasons for. It's almost like when a whole town covers something up. I swear to God, it's weird, man. And I'm never going there. I don't think I'll make it out of there.
Dude,
I was gonna go there, but I mean, honestly, I don't think I have any reason to go to Delphi,
when I
except for to meet people that I like.
When I went up there Memorial weekend, Memorial Day weekend, in, let's see, what, 22 or 23. And I went to this restaurant, Brick and Mortar, which is just right downtown. Nice little bar, restaurant bar, and the people looked at me like I was they were like, stare, not trying to be, it was, they were, they weren't trying to be screwed at all. It was like, yeah, I'm looking at you because I want to know who the hell you are and why you're here. And I was like, I understand some of that's because, but it was like, it was like Twin Peaks shit. It was like, I was like, what in the hell's going on? It's like, if you could just feel the eyes.
And let me bring your theory around full circle. Are you saying that DP? Do you feel that DP is your main suspect then?
No,
or part of this?
No, I don't think he's the suspect. I don't think he's.
Okay.
I don't think he's.
Okay.
A
POI I just wanted to clear that part up because
All I think, I don't think him any more really than I thought. He's been dishonest about his circumstances from the beginning. I just know what they are now, and I know how it happened now. I used to not understand. So I guess maybe back then I leaned toward, why the hell is this guy lying? Why is he coming forward and helping with a sketch, and then all this now it's like he didn't exist. And it's all they saw. Oh, well, it must have seen FSG. No, I've got proof that he didn't know who the hell FSG was. I mean, it's all.
No, you're right. Okay, let me clear something up. He's got a good point here.
The amount of deception is incredible.
B, I just want to clear up. I'm not saying that anything was done. I'm not saying that house wasn't worth that. It very well could have been the value of that, but the fact remains that her company, and it doesn't make her culpable in anything. She's the only one in that business around there. Not she, but I mean her company, whatever she works for, is the entity. And that's how it is in a lot of municipalities. It's not exclusive to Delphi. Oftentimes there is only one appraisal company, as there is oftentimes only one anesthesiology company that sort of gets rented out to local areas. But thank you for saying that, B, because I don't want to hit on something to sound clickbaity or overly dramatic. But let me then add that take Becky Patty out of it. I mean, if the house is worth that, and that's what her company does, well, that's not her thing. But the house did burn down within 60, 90 days of that. So that doesn't make her a part of anything other than appraising the house. But thank you for saying that. I don't want to be sounding nutty buddy. Is that okay, B? I mean, did I explain it well enough, B? I mean, do you think that I covered that good enough?
Yeah, look, the thing is,
I just want to make sure, because I love B like so much. Like if I like B could be like, we used to talk a lot more, when I was on Slew Show. But I'm saying, like, if she's gonna say that, I want to make sure that I'm not sounding like an asshole, because overall, I know B's looking out for me.
I don't think it's total. I mean, look, I don't think anybody should point a finger directly at anybody without proof,
right. But and I don't want to do that.
And it's not totally adequate to be suspicious when money making opportunities come about in towns that don't have those all the time. Look, I don't know if you're familiar with the land that was bought by the city council, by the city, and the city council guy who happens to be DP's uncle was the one in charge of buying it, and they paid. It's just, again, it's a opportunity to make some money when you don't have many opportunities to do so in a small town. Okay. And so,
let me clarify just quickly here. Pertinent. I'm not sure you have that right. When you do an appraisal on property, that's not something that gets done year over year. That would be a tax assessment that gets done year over year. An appraisal would be for reasons of insurance purposes, and it could have been 20 years since the previous appraisal. In all fairness to both Becky Patty, the company, and even the owners of that property.
yeah, it could be done for a potential real estate deal or insurance. So yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, yeah,
Sure.
people get
Wasn't the same
the
thing as
VAT.
like
Yeah,
how a property tax assessment is done.
yeah, but
That's not what
a
we're
lot of
talking.
the time, yeah, a lot of times the mortgage lender bases a lot of the value on based on what the house is appraised at. So that's not. I mean, that's how appraisals work. Appraisals work for um,
Yeah,
for
sure.
sales and for insurance purposes. That's how a value is determined. But I think you're saying that
Um,
there's
hmm.
potential there. Look, there's potential in any business industry to.
I'm sorry. I don't. Can somebody help me out here? I thought the previous appraisal was for that amount there be, and that the new appraisal was for around $400,000. I'm pretty sure I read that in the newspaper. I mean, there's a huge difference, and if I'm wrong on that amount, then I definitely want to correct myself. But I thought that the appraisal that was done just a couple months before the house burned down in Florida, that it was upwards of $400,000. You're saying that she only appraised it for 46,000. I was under the impression that was the previous older appraisal from way back.
Yeah, that kind
Uh,
of information should be pretty. That's like public now. It should be pretty easy to find, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't like dig this information up. I mean, um, but I thought it was. But doesn't insurance cost is going to be based on that appraisal
yeah,
value, not just on some made up number? That would be
yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, look, man. Here's one of the things. When people, there's been a couple of
Okay,
things that
right.
there's been a couple of things in this
I
case
didn't mean
that
to get off track. I didn't mean to get off track, but I just want to be clear about
yeah,
just
no,
what my point here.
yeah, and you should, and we should all be strive to be consistent in what we say and do. But look, you have a uh, there's been a couple of things we haven't been able to discuss in this case. One was victimology, which is a critical component in solving a murder case, particularly
Yeah,
with
I
children
agree.
that age. Um, and
Yep.
we haven't been able to discuss anything about the family when statistics show that families can be. Now, obviously, I don't say anything bad about them just because there's no reason to. But anybody who doesn't think it's weird that one of the girls got killed's dad didn't say a damn word. I mean, if you don't do that and then wonder why everybody's asking questions. I mean, at some point there's common sense has to kind of kick in. It's like, you know, we've limited this deal here and now. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that anybody's entitled to anything, but don't expect it to be different. People are going to ask
Right.
questions they're going to want to know. And when you've got a father, I'm not saying he did anything wrong and that was his choice or that was somebody else's choice that he was told. Um, but that's weird. It's weird because I've never heard of it before. I don't know that it's right or wrong, but it's unusual because I've never seen it before. Most fathers are they're more active, And like I said, I'm not blaming him, but maybe that makes him extremely uncomfortable. Maybe he feels like that brings on something that he's not interested. But and I get all that, but when that happens and unusual behavior is created, people are going to ask questions. I'm just sorry, that's just the way it is. I don't think anybody in the family had anything to do with anything. Although I will say one unusual thing was after I was on True Crime Garage, that night after the first episode was aired, Kelsey went berserk on Twitter about it.
I do want to clarify. It seems a lot of people know. We've had some corroboration here on that situation, and I do feel kind of bad about saying that it was appraised so high. If indeed it was only appraised at 45,000, I feel like a real dick. How is it even possible to take out an insurance policy at 5 times what it was appraised for? How is that legal? I mean,
Wait,
that seems
that
crazy to me.
are you sure that's right?
That's what
It's
everyone's
appraised.
saying.
It's a
Be saying, well, farmer, you're familiar with Detroit. Yeah. How many houses burn on a block of rentals? It's because the replacement insurance pays. Doesn't matter the property was worthless. But I'm saying, doesn't that replacement insurance cost is still based on building a whole new place? That appraisal has to come from somewhere, I would think, but I guess that's not the same thing.
Yeah, see, I'll be honest with
So
you.
yeah, I just don't know enough about, and I don't know anything about the ins and outs of really. Besides, I had homeowners insurance for most of the time I had a home. I won't say all the time.
I've been involved in the construction business, quote unquote, for 27 years, and so I understand how codes work and how replacement values are so much higher. Sometimes they can't things that were built in certain times can't be replaced because and they can't. That's why they're not insured. I know there's a lot of factors there,
Right.
but I don't know what the I mean there was one of the hurricanes that happened down near where I live is it happened in Mexico Beach, and it's just a little
Right.
small beach town with concrete block houses, right? Well, to replace those
Sure. Yeah.
houses
Right. Okay.
nowadays and to meet code nowadays is like
That's
it
what
would
B's
be
saying. Yep.
it would be something like that. It would be like five
Yeah.
times or 10 times or couldn't do it. And so, and
You're right.
that was the sad part about it
Right.
because you take all these you
Essentially,
look at
you could put an outhouse up and you could put an outhouse up in the Hollywood Hills that appraises for $12 fucking, but it burns down and they build a new outhouse or a new house for you. It's $12 million. So
well,
now I
yeah,
understand. B, thank you
yeah,
very much for helping me clear that up
yeah.
in my head.
Building costs are they go up so much just because codes change, why types of
But
wire
it is
change.
intrinsically, it is, I could see how what B's saying. It's intrinsically two different and separate categories. Like appraising a house is
It
merely
is,
doing that. This is
yeah.
what this house as it is worth. Replacing that house, however, is a different story.
Well, that's the thing. That's where it's got to be clear. It's got to be clear that this evaluation is based on what it would cost to replace the house, to build a house that would meet code in the current.
I don't know if that's me breaking or Skip.
I think I could hear you breaking up a little bit, but yeah, that was the thing. And so I see it all the time, where code is changed and and people can't build what they had. And it wasn't insured for what the rebuild was. It was insured for what the house was valued at. And it just, it's a tough situation, but yeah, whoever, I don't know who you're talking to, because I'm not looking
Yeah.
at it, but that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense to me. That makes me a lot less cynical, I
Well,
think, about at least half of that situation and things like that. So
yeah.
that's what poor information can do, though. It kind of could set you off in a certain way. And I appreciate the people around here for correcting me when I am wrong. I do appreciate that.
It was an honest mistake. There is a a home that was built in the 50s or 40s is going to be evaluated different than something that is relatively new. It's just the way it works. I mean, I've seen places where you go in there and there's still people still using wire from back then. Yeah, you can't make nothing in the house currently would meet code. It can't be built that way again. And so what it would cost to build that way with where now you got it was concrete blocks. Now it's got to be up on stilts. It's got for the water to run. It's so different that but again, I'm not an expert on appraisal, so I don't know how all that's done in terms of houses that are
Sure.
older homes.
Well, I really think what V is saying is that my mistake was that maybe just drop the Becky Patty part and say the appraisal company did A, B, or
Yeah.
C, because really her association with that is has zero impact on all
What
of that. B, and I see your point there, and I agree. That was a bit over the top. Thank you for correcting me.
what was the if there could have been some kind of insinuation, what was it that it was appraised wrong or it was placed?
Well, I'm not saying there was an insinuation, but by
I
saying
know
it's
I'm not
Becky
either.
Patty's company,
I'm just saying it, but if it what made it kind of a topic? I mean, what or potentially a topic? Is I guess is what I'm asking. Is it because the is it
well,
because
I think
that didn't line up or something? I guess I don't know enough about that. I don't know anything about that case.
it
I
could
don't.
indicate a deeper. It could indicate a deeper conspiracy on a corporate level, where something or almost like insider trading information is sort of going on. Just by like, it shouldn't matter who owns a company that is a reputable, and two, that isn't even the one that gave the bloated appraisal in the first place.
Oh,
And
look, man.
and and the fact is, it would have probably cost 400 grand to build a new place with 4 different units
I mean,
in it per
yeah,
code.
people have been
So
burning.
maybe
Yeah,
maybe not even the insurance thing was out of hand.
people have
So
been.
I think I
Yeah,
was just absolutely barking up the wrong tree. I think V
yeah,
corrected me,
yeah.
and I think that's what I enjoy about this channel, is that people aren't just gonna let you get away with shit either, and that
Yeah.
includes the host.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you sometimes it's so obvious when you see that certain restaurant just burns to the ground, and what you you know what the reason for it is. I mean, those kind of things happen. Look, they do. People have been burning shit down to collect insurance money for since they've been
Sure.
building houses, so it happens. But I understand where they're coming from. Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
in a small community, in a small town, you can't help but to have multiple connections that mean absolutely nothing other than business, or whatever sort of friendships or whatever through the years. I mean, in small communities like that, I can even tell now that I live in one myself, and I work at the gas station where all the locals go. Like,
yeah,
they avoid we have a Shell and my place. My place sells minnows, worms, and firewood, right? So that's
right.
where all the lower 10 cents, and we're 10 cents cheaper than Shell. And I don't worry about getting sued for that because it's a fact. And so
It's
stop in and see me sometime. We make the best popcorn in the area.
awesome. Well,
But
that's
you ain't
again,
getting that good of popcorn at Shell. So I'm meeting all these locals, and it's very interesting. Very
yeah. That's
interesting.
that's why I don't I'm not critical of others because they
Yeah.
have gone at
I don't know where I'm going
come,
with that.
come to the case at a different time than me, and they've had a different path. Um, so I don't, but I don't have a. I try not to even have an opinion on if it's like the one of the things I do know though is as humans we struggle to make sense of four little kids dying like that. I mean that's
Yeah,
hard. That's hard on, and does that cause us
you really
to
do. Yeah.
maybe make a mistake? Because I mean those
Oh,
things are hard.
when
Those
they
things
come
are
back and say it's arson, it help when they say it was arson.
yeah. I mean, look, man. That's I mean we I mean that's part of the human condition. We struggle understanding how that can and happens. It shouldn't. It's the last thing that should happen. So we're trying to our senses we're oversensitized because we're trying to make sense of it. And when maybe there is no sense to make of it. But we want to because it makes us feel
Right.
better. It takes some of that hurt and uh, anxiety that we feel when thinking about something like that away. And there's been a lot of that in this case. There's been a lot of that
Skip, you're
people.
breaking up pretty bad there, Skip.
Hold on, let me get. Hold on one sec.
Yeah. I cannot tell if it's me or you.
It could
just
be. I just realized my phone.
driving me crazy.
My phone.
I have got to.
That sounds like on your
I've
end.
literally got to buy a 200-foot Ethernet cable to run it from the work to my. Yeah, it's me too.
Good signal. Says I've got a good signal. I don't know.
It's absolutely nice. We both have shitty signals. I think it's both of us. It's fucking awful. I see Elon Musk is laughing at me right now. I'm gonna have to be Charles Nelson. Gosh, I feel like I probably Check. Okay, there we go. Check. I paused. Good golly, Miss Molly. We may have to call it if it's going to piss poor of a connection. That's just torture for people. Peggy saying, there's no, you there, Skip? Oh, here you go. Hang on. There we go. Check.
Check.
Can you hear me, Skip?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm sort of hearing you. I think you're coming in clearer and clearer. Go ahead and say something.
Check. Can you hear me?
No, maybe not.
Hold on.
I can hear you a little bit now. Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything before besides just a little bit of breaking up. Again, I don't know if it's me or you, man. It could very well be both of us.
Yeah,
I live in the middle of a field,
Yeah, my signal's good.
Oh, well, since he's saying she can hear us both. I guess we're fine. Since he's saying good, Sweet Dude Chibi. Sensi Wackadoodle, my mod is saying it's good. Sweet Dude Chibi is saying it's good. By the way, Sensi, thank you so much. I know it's super late over across the big pond where you're at. Thank you for modding this whole time and being around that matter. I mean, I'm not sure that Skip and I were intending to break any new ground here today, other than to maybe bring some normal dialogue back to these topics where it seems like people have forgotten how to speak to each other. I feel like I don't ever remember debate, being involving, just like cussing someone out and and you're a moron if you don't know this, and you're a fucking idiot. Like, this whole thing is crazy to me. An honest debate, you give the other side ample opportunity to answer, because that only if you have a good point enhances your point.
Well, saying that's not communicating. That's just all that's doing is just throwing out accusations to harm, to do whatever you're trying to do. It's not even trying to communicate. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but I think on a bigger point, I think we need to be doing a lot more of it, not just on the Derek Farmer Network, but just at the grocery store, or even just in normal chat dialogue on other shows. Like, I see, like, that's why I cut such a quick tone with people, especially, mostly if I don't know them. Like, anybody I know they can roast me if they want. I don't care, as long as I know they're not trying to hurt my feelings. If they're doing it, if you're trying to make me spit my last tooth across the living room because I'm laughing so hard, that's awesome. But if you're trying to hurt my feelings, I mean, trust me, I'm an in tune enough person to be able to catch the difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need anyone to explain to me the difference. So I always like it when people get shitty with you and then they go, "Well, I'm just kidding." It's like, but I've never met you before and you don't sound like you're kidding, right? So
I don't mind that kind of thing. I don't really understand the discrediting and because you don't like what somebody says, whether it's true or not. It's not a matter of true or not. It's just you don't like it, so you want it to be discredited. I mean, look, a lot of us experience that. I experienced the shit out of it. The one thing you're never going to get, and that's just fine. You're never going to get anybody come and say, "Hey, I treated you unfairly, and I apologize for that." That's not going to happen, and so I don't have any expectation of that. But it shouldn't
I
happen.
apologize to people all the time if I'm wrong.
It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen in the first place. It shouldn't happen as a. I mean, to make up something because you want them to. And look, and it's not all just been social media that driven. There's been some, when you realize some of the connection between some of these people and who they talk. We talked a little bit about talking to so and so in law enforcement. There's been more of that than you realize, and it's just unfortunate. It's
Sure.
been bad. It's just and it's and the girls didn't get the kind of help they didn't get what they needed. The case didn't get treated like it. So it's bad. It's just bad. But I think there's still a chance we have that we can tell, and there's nothing. Look, it's nothing wrong with ever just discovering the truth and exposing it. That should not hurt anybody. If that hurts you,
Right.
then that's a you thing, right?
Yeah, I think all things above board, as long as people are being somewhat respectful, and conscious of the things they say, then I think it's our right as humans to have that free will to ask those questions. Again, if you're badgering somebody, over and over and over again, well, that's a different thing. You know
No,
what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I'm
just
not.
getting in someone's face for your fucking TikTok moment, not yours, Skip. I'm saying just
Yeah,
these kind of people to get in someone's face for their moment of, causing emotional distress on someone else to make your stupid fucking point.
yeah,
I find that almost criminal.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
find it almost criminal. Really.
I agree. I would never demand that someone. I'm talking about discovering the truth and getting it out so people have the opportunity to see. That to me, that's if anybody has an issue with that, that's you're not trying to hurt anybody. All you're doing is telling the truth. I mean, I know that this is 1958, and the right wrong component in this world is not really a thing anymore. Right there used to be right and wrong. Now it's based on how it affects you. That's how you determine whether you tell the truth or not because it's right or wrong. I get all that.
Right.
It's the natural decaying of society, but the truth still should have some damn value. I mean, it has to. It has to. I mean, trying to find it shouldn't be seen as a vile thing. It should be seen as
Well, I mean, listen, yeah, I agree. We have to get back to a place, and I don't know how close we ever were, but I'd like to just set it as a goal to just get to a place. Let's make it better than before. Let's get to a place where we all actually have access to each other, but we're just being normal folks, like we're having, coffee at a breakfast table, at a table for breakfast. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. If you look, if it's about respect. If you
You
treat
have
others
to
with
imagine and put yourself there. You gotta.
yeah,
I
if you treat others
don't
with
know. Maybe I'm
respect.
being dreamy.
No, you're not. If you treat others with respect, it's pretty simple. If you treat others with respect, then that you don't lie. People don't lie to others they respect. So I mean, there's just and you don't have to agree with somebody on everything, but treat them with some respect. Just treat them with respect that you think you would want. And so, I mean, some of those tried and
Right.
true
That's the golden
beliefs.
rule.
Yeah, exactly. Those some of those tried and true rules like that are still pretty valid. They may be corny. They may be corny as hell,
I mean, yeah, I had
but
that. You're so right.
they're true.
There's a greater meaning behind those phrases.
Yeah, I mean when you're looking at the truth and you've got to determine whether that's something you should tell. That's We should never be in that position. Now I told you earlier about it. I see a lot of people that have maybe they want the truth, but they want it with this caveat they've got, or this exception that they aren't willing to let go of. That's not that by definition, that's not really wanting the truth, because
Right.
because because that's actually more important than finding the truth. This is protecting the exceptional thing, and it's and look, people, the one thing we all know is that human beings can justify anything. We can literally justify anything we do. We think, oh, I can still tell the truth and get the truth out there, but this doesn't have to be part of it. Well, that's the wrong attitude to take if you're really interested in getting the truth out. And now, look, I'm not preaching to anybody or telling. People act the way they want to act. I'm just saying, if you want to,
Skip, my signal is being a real bitch, man.
Yours is.
Yeah, man, it's just like being
you sound
just out of hand. Hopefully that helps. I mean, it's kind of bumming me out a little bit.
You're coming through loud and clear now.
Okay, good.
I mean,
okay, good. I must be heard by my people. You cannot shut me up, Elon Musk, you son of a bitch. Well, that brings me then to the biggest question that I have for you. How do you feel about my idea for a cartoon called Derek's Barnyard Sleuths?
I did like.
I have the whole. Go ahead.
I did like your idea about the journalism standards, though. I like that your attitude is not opposed to creating standards. Some people don't want any barriers, or I think I think creating standards and are important because it keeps you it keeps you in line with what you're trying to accomplish. And it's not, I think that's good. I see all about I don't want anybody holding me back, or nobody's going to tell me what the hell to do. Look, man, we're talking about creating a stand. We were talking about creating.
My subscribers would never let me get away with that self-righteous bullshit if I wasn't like how I am. They wouldn't be here at all. I guarantee you that. Part of the appeal of this channel and this network, whatever it is, and our connection is that I make myself vulnerable. I let it all out there. I bring receipts. If I state something that someone could possibly say, well, prove it, you can damn sure bet I'm going to be able to.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. That's one thing. I won't even consider something unless I feel like I can. Why would I? I'm not. It's got to fit. I'm not going to try to wedge something into a space that it doesn't fit in. It's got to fit, or it's not, or it doesn't. It's like putting together a puzzle. I'm not I don't claim to be any kind of great sleuth or any kind of great thinker or anything like that. But I have a desire to,
and you enjoy the process.
Yeah,
you enjoy the process. Me too.
And so, I know some people see themselves as this, whatever, but that's fine. That's if telling themselves that they're higher in the natural pecking order than others helps them out, that's fine. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not, it's that sort of, that just causes tribalism and all kinds of dumb things. And then people make all these weird, alignments with each other. So it's like, so you're willing to put up with bad information on a real case based on your allegiance to someone you like. Like, I'm just not willing to do that in my flesh and blood life. And I'm definitely fucking not willing to do that online. There's no way that I was going to start from the beginning, which is what Delphi was for me, and Sleuth Intuition Show, and try to become somebody that I wasn't, that I couldn't just prove and just be who I was, and that included all the ugly shit too,
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. The thing about it is that, I mean, when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with the public, you're dealing with other people, and you don't really know them, You don't know what their agendas, their MOs are. It's difficult because people have them. We all come into any situation with some, with our own set of values, our own set of sensibilities that are going to affect how we interact
Yeah.
and do in any space. So it's just that's why the group thing. I've never been a part of any sleuth group or anything like that. I had a sleuth partner, a gal from Indiana, that helped me a great deal. She basically created the drive I still use for all my documents, and she was just a really highly intelligent person. I was really fond of her.
Hey,
But
that's
other
great.
but other than that, I've never. It's just been because I feel like if it's mine, I own it. And I can you know take care of it, do it whatever I need to properly, whether it's dismiss it if I find it's not right, or find evidence that supports it. Then but if it's not, if you're in a group and you haven't done any of the research, then you're just going along with somebody. I mean, I don't have a yes, fine. You can be part of the group. You can just be buddies on kind of stuff. But being active and being critical of other people is not really that's not really a good look.
No, I agree, and it just indicates one of the two emotions I've deduced that we actually have as humans: love and fear, and all the other emotions, basically, in my opinion, spring from those. So,
Yeah.
if you're talking negatively about someone or doing something negative to someone, it's really ultimately because you fear something about them or the situation you're involved in.
Right.
And fear can breed a lot of different things, like anger, and all kind of self-preservation things, and like all this shit. But if you're just doing something, I'm no hippie by any means. I was always more punk rock. But but to say that, to do something for the love of it, like I do with amateur broadcasting, it keeps it more pure for me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
and
yeah,
I and I enjoy the process of all of this. And I don't really like to give any celebrity to people who have been caught. I mean, Delphi is definitely the exception. Like, I don't like to sit around talking about Manson or that spec guy or any of that stuff where it's like way over and someone's already. But a cold didn't get justice,
yeah.
and so that
Celebrity.
is something that I feel like, as long as we're being respectful with the information
Yeah.
and to the victim family, right, if we do
Yeah.
it right. And part of my process for me doing it right is talking to all of you about how to do it right. Because until you actually verbalize the thoughts in your head with someone else who has a common interest, it's hard to flesh out those ideas. And I thank you all tonight for helping Skip and I flesh out those ideas. Skip, is there anything you'd like to add here at the what I'm going to call the end of quite an enlightening 3 hour conversation?
No, I just tell you, really appreciate you inviting me on. I enjoyed it. I knew I would. I've always
I
enjoyed
loved it. And
speaking
we
with
didn't
you,
get to a couple things. We didn't get to the
and
Beavers thing.
we can get to that later. We can get to that later. That'll be it. That's really important to have the audience, because what it entails is you watch this video, and then I talk about what we know about it, and then we try to make some determinations about and answer some
Mm-hmm.
questions that knowledge and watching that video tell us. And that's how the deductive reasoning exercise works. It's really cool. It was invented by a guy. I think the guy was
Yeah,
in the FBI or something. Anyway, it's a cool way to learn how to kind of think in terms of taking multiple pieces of information and seeing if they match. If they don't, try, maybe something else does. But when you can answer
sure.
multiple questions with one explanation, um,
And
it's
that's
very.
still a cold case, correct? That is still
Yeah,
Missy
that's still a
Beavers
cold
is
case,
still a cold case, correct?
and probably will be forever from what
So
I know
totally
about it.
totally like relevant to what I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's some
I think we should do an individual show on that.
it's a, there's some unusual things about the mechanics of the crime too. It's like I said, when started read, I said some things I shouldn't have. That it was the funny thing about it. It was the mod kind of like where did you hear that? And then like 3 days later, fortunately, I was validated by a doctor on some show on CNN or something. Said exactly what I had told them earlier. They're like, "Oh, well, how'd you know that?" I said, "Well, I told you who my information comes from, but if you don't, you'd rather be skeptical than knowledge, than learn something." I don't. I said I never understood that. Why someone would rather be skeptical than potentially learn something important. Yeah, that's fine. I'd rather take my chances
Yeah.
on getting maybe hooked, snookered, or hoodwinked every once in a while. Um,
Mm-hmm.
than just to completely, you know, tune people out because I'm skeptical of them. I don't believe anything you say. I mean, is that a social proper social behavior? You know, I don't care
Right.
what you say. I
Not
don't.
at all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. If you wouldn't do that in a normal situation. You would do that at a dinner party or a cocktail party. But here it's like,
Sure.
and I know there's some shenanigans that go on. I understand that. But there's way more accusations of it than there probably really is. And so, because it's like, oh yeah, that guy has screenshot. Screenshots are all fake, or oh yeah, anybody can do that, or I don't. It's like, do you not even? If you don't want to consider it, just say you don't want to consider it. I don't need to hear all this bullshit. This,
Mm-hmm.
that's conjecture is all it is. It's you don't know any of that.
Right.
You just somehow that provides a satisfaction for people. I guess bitterness is a.
I'll tell you there. I said it before, man. There's a huge crossover between how the UFO subject matter is treated and some of these cases in the terms of like just doing that complete attitude, like, yeah, whatever, I know better, blah, blah, blah. When really even people that think they know something know nothing, at the
Right,
end of the
exactly.
day.
Yeah. I guess, do you think it's just they want to pull you down into their lack of knowledge as well? Does it scare you? Said love and fear are they fearful that
Yeah.
you know something they don't? Well, I mean, if they would listen to
Yeah, I
you,
guess
then,
so. I mean, at the end, one of those emotions wrapped up in there is certainly it. Yeah.
but if you fear that, then why not listen, and maybe then you will know and you won't have that fear again. Or is that too rational for people
I
to
mean,
actually think that way?
Roosevelt said it best, the only thing to fear is fear itself,
Yeah.
because, and if you think of the British, during that same time, here you had these British guys and ladies going about their life every single day as the buildings around them were falling apart. They'd still get up with their satchels and go to the office, and the office wasn't there anymore. But they went through the motions as a fuck you to the Germans. You know what I mean? A real
Right.
fuck you. Like, you're not going to affect my day. And I find that to be so wonderful,
All I know is if I ever get to,
actually.
if even at my advanced age, if I ever get to a situation where I feel like I don't need to learn anything anymore, I might as well go ahead and end it right there. I'm not because if I'm not going to listen to anything anybody else says because you're not telling me anything. That's where does that come from? Where does that come from? I mean, that's a characteristic that was created prior to being lied to. I mean, good grief. That's because that's just so extreme. I mean, yeah, we've all been lied to, and you are. And you
Just
are.
really quick, pertinent is that what was the oh, sorry, shit. I keep cutting you off because the signal keeps getting cut. And you're done talking. I apologize.
What was the case, Missy
I'm
Beavers?
getting my signals are getting kind of crossed.
I was talking about the Missy Beavers case.
Oh, yeah, pertinent was asking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That must be it, pertinent. Yeah, Missy Beavers. That's going to be part of the exercise that I hope and I will assure we have a better connection, that Skip will come back and do a part 2 on that exercise, I hope, in the future. Skip, do you think we could do that?
I'd love to get your audience to participate in it because I think it's you.
I can't hear his answer.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can. Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is if the audience participates, you get a lot of feedback, and if it's you end up you end up learning. You learn some things that you never considered, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't think of that. That makes sense, and maybe it gives you a different perspective. It's really a good thing, but everybody has to kind of be involved. But I think everybody would enjoy it, particularly in a cold case where a video.
I think you're involved. Right, and yeah, I think I'd really love it if down the road, I know we're both probably busy and stuff, but down the road I would sure, and I don't mean years down the road. You know what I mean? We'll stay in contact.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Something weird. Something weird's going on with the audio, Skip.
I just took the earpiece out just because I was and just went to the speakerphone. Thought maybe that changed.
Okay, you sound good now, actually. Yeah.
Anyway, whatever you want. Like I said, I go on shows when people ask.
Excellent.
I'm not a content creator. I'm just a whatever. I do. If someone asks me, I'll go on their show. I've been on. Look, man. There's no sides. I don't have. I don't.
Well, they call you a.
What's that?
You're an A-list. You're like an A-list guest on these shows, man. I mean, you have a role. I mean, you really do. You're really excellent. You make. It's clear that you put a ton of time and thought into this case, and probably that goes to show that you're probably doing a lot of the things that you spend time on in your life. And I just think that it's been an enlightening conversation. I'm not audience that I think we broke ground on some new conspiracy surrounding Delphi, but know that was never Skip and I's point in the first place. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. We wanted to show, make you aware of something you might not be aware of. Probably weren't, because I certainly wasn't. And I know more. I've looked into more, as much of this subject matter than anybody. So that's all we wanted to see. Consider something that your eyes tell you is right, instead of basing it on what's likely misinformation. I know old things are hard to get out of your head when you've heard it so many times, but in order to find out the truth in this case, it takes being completely to be completely open to whatever. If you're not, it's not going to ever happen. Because most of the things
I agree, and I think. Go ahead.
We've been lied to so much. Most of the things you've heard from that aspect of the case have not been true. There's been a lot more truth told by the social media sleuth people than there have by people in official capacity. And again, you ask yourself why.
All right. You still with me, Skip?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm sorry. You cut out a little bit. Let me leave you with. Yeah, I can. Let me leave you with 3 quick bullet points. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, here I go. But let me first say, because I'm going to sign us out here. It's getting kind of difficult with the audio. I don't know. Maybe there's a solar storm or something. I want to thank Skip Jansen for coming on today, for answering any of the tough questions in chat. And chat, I realized I didn't get to all of your questions. It was really hard. I do this by myself. I don't have a producer. So I like to stay engaged in the conversation. I do apologize for not putting up all the comments. But I'm going to leave Skip with this upon request by him. Tell me about these idiosyncrasies, the flaming lips and Brian Kohlberger. Here we go.
Yeah, flaming lips and
they both the lead singer. Yeah, it's like the Lincoln Kennedy connection. The lead singer is from the same small Pennsylvania town as Brian Kohlberger, but as a child moved to Oklahoma. Okay.
Okay.
Now, The day before the murders, the Flaming Lips played a makeup show at what's the university next to Idaho? Washington?
Boise. Oh,
Anyway,
the state next to Idaho.
there's another university that's close. Yeah.
Yeah, UW.
Anyways, the
University of-
Flaming Lips played a show. Yeah. The Flaming Lips played a show right there in that area the day before the murders. Now, here's the third one. Ready?
Yeah.
The lead singer's cousin was in Brian Koberger's class where he was asking the question in graduate school, what do you do after you murder somebody and how do you get away with it?
Oh, wow, man. That's
I'm going to leave you with that. I want to say thanks to Skip Jansen. I'm a huge Flaming Lips fan. I want to say you really enlightened my show tonight, and the whole thing was excellent, and I hope to talk to you soon. I'll send you an email or something. Just I like to do a little post wrap up, you know what I mean,
yeah, man.
and see what you thought, how it went. We can do all that whenever we have time, you know.
Yeah,
but thank you so much, Skip. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, just that I hope everybody
Good.
Found it not too boring. I tried to stay on point tonight. Sometimes I can get a little blurry, but I just because there's so much.
I don't think so.
Well, I just sometimes when subject matter becomes really, it can you're trying to when I try to explain something, sometimes I get a little, But anyway, I really appreciate it. I really enjoy it.
These guys. I enjoyed the entire process, man. I think this is what sets us apart is that conversation over here. We're not looking for a gotcha moment, where we can say we told you so or try to pin somebody down on something. I don't invite anybody on I don't already have some respect level for. You more than exceeded that, and I want to thank you so much for being here tonight.
I appreciate it, Derek. Look forward to seeing you again, man.
Okay, thank you. And with that being said, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and always keep your eyes on the skies. We'll talk to you all very soon. Have a great night. Thank you.